Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Here in this phenomenal race, Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin's the lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to PSGL for round 7 of the E-Series Championship. You're joined by me, Nathan Richards, shortly, hopefully by Joshua Birch. I think he's had a bit of trouble, possibly with his internet, so he hasn't been able to make it just yet. But and for that, we've got a very action-packed round. We've got lots of new, well, actually, we've got about 2 or 3 new drivers making appearances. We've had lots of changes since round 6. We've got Suzuka, very interesting circuit. There's a lot going on. And also, the main thing to talk about is the fact Ferrari could win the championship tonight, depending on how it goes. So, at the moment, they would need to score 32 points if they want to take the championship. Obviously coming out of Suzuka, which they have done every round so far. So it's nothing too new for Ferrari. It's nothing that's going to be much of a challenge to them to score the 32 points that are required. Or, alternatively, be ahead of Veloce by 58 points, depending what goes in with their races, plus Ferraris if they can't score that required amount of points. Then, obviously, we've got main battles going on. We'll have a look at the standard at the moment. So, obviously, you can see Ferrari are on 281 to Veloce 199. So, the realistic battles are between Ps 2 and 5, being Veloce, Race Clutch, Williams, and RHG. Their gap's around 30-ish points. Obviously, Veloce being on 199 and RHG being 164. Then we have a battle between 6th and 8th, realistically being SRT, TS, and TF10, that being 4 points separating just 3 positions. So lots to play for still today and probably to, next week as well in Jeddah. Then finally we got Vroom in 9th and 86. They're going to be fighting with FVR. I don't know if that fight will be too big. Might be, might not be. We'll see how tonight's race goes on for those. Obviously, they haven't got Reese Linton, unfortunately. Vroom haven't, so maybe they'll be back on a little bit of a back step going in towards this round. We'll have a look at the lineups as we can see on our screens. Max Visa yet again joined by Paul Ekamar. I think this is a team we've seen probably the most this season. I think we've seen them probably 4 or 5 times together, Max and Paul. Then Ferrari got Camel Sasha, his first appearance here in the PSGL E-Series Championship alongside Dylan Warren, who's took 2 victories here this season, so he's very well known here in this championship. Race Clutch have got Tamas Gal and Sergio Sprinter, yet again another line that we've seen multiple times this season. Veloce Academy, Daniel Yeltsin and Max Gross Pointer. Daniel's raced multiple times. Max, this is his second appearance here in this championship. RHG, bit unfortunate with 2 quali bans, but they got Yost Orok and Chana Kinchi. I think those 2, if anyone, can make their way up the grid, even with that qualifying ban having to start at the back of the grid. SRT, Konomiya and Jack West. Yet again, another very strong lineup between those 2 for the SRT team. Definitely very needed for tonight in their little fight for P6. Then we got TES with Nelson Alves and Jan Halliday. Vroom got Boris Zaksek and Jeremy Gallagher. FVR with Nolly Perez and Tobias Koivunen, and something that caught me off guard for Williams is Kian Goldendorp must have obviously made a recent signing with them or some sort of partnership agreement, because I didn't know he was part of the Williams team. Well, I guess he is at least here for tonight. He's alongside Mr. Will Lewis, who's been here, I think, for his 6th appearance this season, so Will's been here quite a lot as the season's gone on. And, well, qualifying's about to begin. We started a little bit late, so we got that perfect jump straight into the qualifying session. Josh still hasn't made it yet, so hopefully Josh can get here. If not, we'll get some sort of replacement team. Otherwise, my voice will be dead in 2 hours' time. It is normally with a co-commentator, never mind when I'm alone. So we got the qualifying on our screens, obviously, here at the Suzuka circuit. A brilliant circuit. One that I don't like to drive because it is a difficult circuit to drive, but it is very entertaining. It is, you look at it, and I don't know what it is, but it's just very Japan-esque, all the little twists and turns. It looks a little bit like what could be used for like sort of a drift circuit, especially in that first set. So it just, I don't know why, but it just remind me of Japan when I see this track, and we can just get everything on our screens ready before we head into the main part of this first qualifying session. So, as we know, RHG have unfortunately got a qualifying ban for both their drives, for instance, in the previous round. You can see Yost making that retirement. Chanakinch will also follow suit in making a retirement. So, only 3 people drop out in Q1 now for the likes of FVR, for the likes of Vroom. That's good for those because they normally struggle in that Q1 session. Well, only 3 can go out, so at least we won't get a double elimination from Vroom and FVR. So we'll see if they can maybe use this to a bit of their advantage going in towards this qualifying session. And someone's joined the VC. Is that Joshua Birch? I don't know if it is. It is Mr. Josh. Hello, Josh. Well, it's a different Josh, but JGM, welcome in.
But no, it should be some good racing. I'm really looking forward to this qualifying session. I was watching along, and it's Suzuka, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure.
Brilliant circuit.
It's gonna go wild.
Yes, indeed. So, yes, well, it's not Joshua Birch, it'll be the other Joshua Griffin Meek. So, Josh, welcome in. You was back with me back in Monaco. Now, if you're, well, I wouldn't say it's a curse, would it be reverse of a curse? He's back. Maybe we'll see an action-packed Suzuka race, because in Monaco, that's still, in my eyes, is the race of the season. It was just chaos. Qualifying 1, 2, 3, and of course that very chaotic race. Well, Suzuka might not cause as much on-track battle, but I think in terms of qualifying, this is probably going to be the closest round, because around here the times are that close. People going in Q1 and Q2 can be literally between half-tenth of a second, if that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, realistically, it's just the nature of Suzuka, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more carnage like we did in Monaco. But it'll be certainly a tough one. I don't feel like we're going to see any of the wet weather antics that we saw in Monaco. So yeah, it's just going to be one of those where we got to bide our time for a little bit, and I'm sure the race will play out exactly as we're hoping for. I mean, it's a historic track. All the drivers know it. All the drivers love it. It's going to create some great racing.
Yeah, I think this is a circuit, to be fair, I don't see that much in the league racing scene at all. I think on this game alone, I've commentated on it twice. So, yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one. I'm quite keen to see how it can go underway. Obviously, Veloce, they've got an 83-point gap to Ferrari, so their chances of winning it are very unlikely. It would mean Ferrari need to pretty much score no points, and Veloce would need to get pretty much a 1-2 in this race in order to save their chance of in order to save their hopes of a championship championship, so I think it's unlikely, but we never know what's going to happen. We've seen crazier things happen in league racing, in IRL F1 and motorsport in general, so we'll see what tonight can bring, and maybe it's going to be the joys for Ferrari, or maybe the joys for possibly Veloce, all the other teams who are fighting for P2, because you've still got lots of Williams, Race Clutch and RHG all in that P3 battle, but obviously, as we said before, RHG with that double quali ban, that's going to put them under a bit of pressure, possibly to the likes of SRT. They're only 40 points back, so if SRT can clutch up tonight and next week, maybe they could see themselves in that top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bit of a tough one. I mean, it would be an uphill battle for him to try and get to that sort of, but momentum's a brilliant thing. We've seen it in real F1. We've seen it already here in E-Series as well. I mean, let's not mention me wearing an Alpine jersey and Race Clutch doing phenomenal, right? Because that's a coincidence, I promise everyone. But it's just those little things, and it really helps, especially just trying to carry it through to the next race. Even if it's not a circuit you're particularly strong at, it's just one of those, and it kind of flows. It's really a beautiful thing. So if we're able to keep up momentum and we're able to really try and mount a challenge, I'm sure we're going to be able to see him closing down on the points.
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite excited to see how it can go. We've got a driver, though, starting their lap on the soft compound tires. It will be Boris Zakazek for the Vroom team. He's just heading through out of the final corner down towards turn 1, which actually, its name is just first turn. So he's heading down towards the first turn, which is a long right-hander before you get yourselves in towards turn 2. Normally, you can take this first corner flat out before you hit the brakes halfway through and towards turn 2, down to 4th, can get back on the power on the exit. You fly through towards Yes's curves, which is normally turns 3 through towards turn 7. So just use all the curves, use that rotation with the curbs. As we know, it's key on this game. You can see Bryce there missing a bit of an apex there. That's costing time through there. He comes up the hill now at the Dunlop curve to the left. Push the car through. Try not to run wide, as that will indefinitely ruin your lap. Then you'll head down in towards the Degner curves, down to turns 8 and turn 9. Yet again, another very difficult braking zone. Drivers too tend to lock up there quite commonly. Then you'll head up towards the hairpin, which I call the Kobayashi corner, as something I call it for quite a while because of that amazing move he made back, I think it was 2011 or something, back in the good old days of F1, as Jeremy goes fastest with a 1 minute 26.857. And Josh, I believe that was on the set of soft tyres as well.
Absolutely, it was. So we're starting to see some lap times on the board, and of course we do have Boris in the Haas here. Now, something I really want to point out here is throughout, the little bit of commentation I have done on Suzuka, as you mentioned, it's quite a rarity. I didn't see Boris chuck it into the hairpin anywhere near as aggressive as I was expecting him to. I would have thought, there might have been a little rear slide, just trying to get the car rotated in, but it was firmly on rails. It was very comfortable. And to be quite honest with you, it looked like he wasn't necessarily pushing too hard. He wasn't going to the full extremities of that car's potential, but he's still good enough to get a 126.7, which pips his teammate by almost 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, well,
not bad for a start a lap.
I think it's the first few laps of qualifying. You don't really want to push too much. You don't want to risk the car spinning out and ending up going into a wall, because we know around here there is corners where you can, if you spin out, go straight to that wall, and that is your qualifying. Dunn and Vroom, they have struggled in qualifying. They've been out in Q1 many times, so I think sometimes for their first runs, just don't take it as risky. Get a first banker lap in, then near the end of the session you can then push, because you never know, that 26.7 might be a decent lap time. We'll see how good it is once more qualifying laps come through, but I definitely don't think those lap times from those two are that bad. We've got another driver on an 8 lap, which is Topias Koivunen for the FVR team. Yet again, another team that have been struggling in the Q1 stages here at CCs, but obviously with that WRHG quali ban, gives also Topias another chance to get himself out in towards Q2 and possibly in towards Q3, depending how these first laps go. So he's just heading down in towards 130R, which is a very satisfying corner, and sometimes a corner you actually see drivers go side by side. It's not something I take the risk in doing. I know there's many drivers that have tried it before in the higher levels of league racing, which still is quite surprising to me. So we'll see what that corner poses tonight in terms of the on-track racing. But we've got Topias there just heading at the final corner in the Mercedes. Josh just heading down towards turn 1 to begin his first lap and the third lap here at the Q1 session.
Yeah, I mean, how many times we saw a beautiful Mercedes take around this circuit, but as we approach the turn 1, which really it's 2 turns in my eyes, I'm calling it. But I was just about to mention, I feel like this curse has continued from Monaco. The track limits coming out of that second part of the first corner, they're very, very strict. I mean, we've seen great battles throughout the years. We saw Leclerc and Max recently. I believe it was 2 years ago, battling tooth and nail going through there, pushing each other wide at every ample opportunity. But as we see Topias now,
into the
Just
wall.
tag him a rear of a wall there. Is there a chance that maybe something might have happened just a
jumped
little
on the
bit
curb.
to the rear?
I mean, just
yeah.
he hit the curb and then he was on the grass. Once you're on the grass or gravel in this game, you cannot stop the car, so there was nothing he could do. Luckily, managed to get the car twisted round so he didn't hit it front. If he hit it on the front, he could have ended up popping the wheel off. So luckily, he hit it the rear of the car, so we didn't get any damage onto it. But obviously, it's a first lap anyway. He did invalidate then at turn 1 and 2, so it's nothing too harmful. It's not going to ruin his qualifying at all. So obviously, he's still got 9 minutes left to set. Possibly 2 more laps depending on how his run plan can go. But we have more drivers out on track. We've got both the race clutches. We've got Paul Eckelmeyer also on track in the TF10 team. His teammate Max Fiesel, remember, has taken 3 pole positions out of 6 this season. But unfortunately, the team themselves have only been in the top 10 3 times. So TF10 needs some points. I said it last time. They need good points. I think they scored 4th back in total, so they have made an improvement. But obviously, going towards round 7 and 8, they've got lots of SRT and TS to fight with. They've got a lot of work to do, but I think they can do it, especially Max. I know Max, he's been around for a long time. He's probably the oldest driver here in the F1 scene. So I know if anyone, along with Paul, can make some work, those two definitely can. Well, as I say, there's a few people on an outlap in the past 20 seconds. Now we've got nearly everyone on an outlap, apart from Tobias, who obviously went his bits, and Will Lewis, who seemed to have some sort of connecting issue as he did leave the session, but luckily has joined back in. So we've got the first proper flurry of laps coming through. This could be quite interesting, couldn't it, Josh?
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And what's even more interesting to me is we got Dylan Warren down in 17th, right? And we know he's nothing short of a phenomenal driver. But he did just say he was on Maloo. So
Yes.
that's got me thinking, is he racing from the toilet as we speak?
Oh, well.
Because if so, that could be an accomplishment in itself. But no, we've got so many great drivers up and down this grid. But as you mentioned, TF10 do need to start bagging some points. They've got Max and they've got Paul. Obviously, we saw what happened last week. Unfortunate, but I feel like this week's going to be a week for them to build on. It's not Monza. It's not necessarily such a jarring and tilting
bringing that
circuit.
up, are we, Josh? Well, that's controversial.
We are. No, we're going to bring it up.
I thought we left that. I thought that settled to bed because I did at least anyway.
Well, I'm not one for Monza, to be honest with you. It brings out the worst in drivers, but Suzuka, it brings out the worst in real drivers. But within the sim community, it's quite well rounded, and I believe we're going to get some brilliant racing as we got Paul taking his first sector by storm by the looks of it. He had a little bit of traffic, but he was able to negotiate it perfectly fine. Rising up over the hill, and that car looks like it's on absolute rails. I'm not sure what TF10 have done to that setup, but boy, does it look fun to drive.
Well, they've done a very good job indeed. I think it was 30.9 in that first set to 4. Paul Eckelmeyer heading down out in towards the hairpin at turn 11. Just throw the car in as usual. Get back on the pair on the X as you fly around towards turns 12 and 13. And also the spoon curves are also a very difficult pace as well on this circuit. You can easily run a bit wide, and also if you run for that curve, sometimes you can end up stepping the rear out a bit too much, and then the car is going to be round and you'll lose your lap time. But very nice from Paul there. Got on the power nice early, rides that curve on the exit. You need to use as much
of a limit
track as you can, yeah. But the issue is sometimes a little bit too wide, that is your lap time done. But this is a type of risk, especially at the types of Paul's level, that you need to be taking on every single run. A 109.914 for the first and second split for Paul, and he lets off, it seems, in towards looks like he went into what looks like AI mode for a second. It was weird, wasn't it? It jolted to the right and well, I don't know what's happened there, but it'll be a 1 minute 27.073. That's definitely not the lap time that Paul was looking for, I don't think. So, bit weird indeed, but we've got the two race clutches coming through. Sergio Spirino first, he's a 26.268. What about Tamas Gal? Can he beat that time from his teammate up to the line? It will be a 1 minute 25.908. Perfect lap time there from Tamas, nearly a second quicker than Jeremy. So it's also the fact that the track as well is evolving very quickly. We've got a few more drivers coming through. The two TS, Jan Halliday first goes on to board with the 26.301. Nelson Alves only managing a 1 minute 31.1, so he's got to obviously find something on that lap time as he also just crossed the line. We've got the two Veloce Academies coming through. Max Gross pointer following through his teammate Daniel into third. What about Max? Can he pop himself into that top 3? Nobby will go into fourth though, just behind his teammate. Then we've got Kemal Sasha into the top 4 for Ferrari. Dylan Warren's also on a lap time. He's coming through 8 to the final 2 corners after Lefty, who goes into 6th. Jack West into the top 8. What about Dylan Warren? Can he go only 10th fastest? Now that isn't an ideal place for Dylan Warren, but he did have a bit of a scruffy final set, so we will need to find an improvement. And that, well, it just shows you, doesn't it, Josh? Realistically, you got, what, 6/10 between 1st and 11th. That could eventually be the gap between 1st and being out of the sessions. King Gondor popped himself into that top 6.
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculously close, but that's the sort of caliber we've got here at E-Series, isn't it? Everyone can pull a lap out the bag. They're all too close. it was just phenomenal to watch. But I will just really quickly point out, I was just having a look at a little bit of the data. The Haas of Boris has ended up setting a quicker lap time by about 0.2 of a second. So we could be looking at maybe 2.5 tenths of track improvement. I mean, that could be another whole 2 temps by the end of this session, so it'll be critical for the drivers to get out at the last possible moment to try and get the most advantage possible from the track surface.
Yeah, indeed, and obviously we can see at the moment the bottom 5 is the 2 RHGs who have the qualifying bans, but joining them is Paul Eckelman, Nelson Alves and Will Lewis. Now, Paul is not a driver I expect to see out in Q1. Obviously, he must have had that issue here before the entrance of the Casio Triangle, which obviously I think lost him at least half a second, so obviously that's obviously not representative of his pace at all. Will Lewis just heading out the final corner. Can he pop himself out to that bottom 5 for the Williams team? Up towards the line, will pop himself into 15th. Now, that is right on the cusp of being out in Q1. I don't think that someone will be close to safe at all. Obviously, that's all dropped Tobias Koivunen into that bottom 5 with his 1 minute 26.829. Nardi Powers as well, decent up in the top 12. That is not where normally we see him out in Q1, to put it bluntly. So it's nice to see him up in that top 12. And now Lefted thinks that 26.2 is enough. Now we'll see if it is enough. It should be, being as it's a 7/10 gap to 16th. But it's all about how much time that Nelson, Paul, Tobias will can find on their laps. If they can find half a second, that puts Lefted right on that cusp of possibly being out into Q2. So we'll see what how that ends. Obviously, we've got Will and Tobias just coming back in towards the pits. Max Wiesel just entered the pits himself in the Red Bull. So now we'll get ready for the final parts of this Q1 session. 3 minutes to go here. And let us know in the chat who you think, if there's any surprises going out in Q1, let us know in the chat who you think it will be and what for what team you think that driver will drop out for. As we can just see, Tobias just entered bits and Will Lewis following him just behind. And also, I'm just making a double check that the audio is fine. So just let us know in the chat if there's any issues. I've just had to make a bit of a change, being as we've had Josh in the commentary box now. So just let us know if everything's fine.
Please, it's kind of needed. You do need to hear the game audio as well. So hopefully we're not deafening you. But we do have a couple more retirees who think they're safe. You got Tamas and Max at the top. They're safe. I'm more than confident. But then you've also got Jack West, the other half of the SRT. Now, because RHG do have a qualifying ban, there's going to be fewer drivers going out. So I feel like because of that, they've been given that little bit of leeway, and that little bit of wiggle room where they can potentially save themselves from having to go out for another run. But someone who isn't got that, he doesn't have that sort of luxury, and maybe it's because he wasn't necessarily happy with his first lap and he had a mistake on the second one. It's going to be Paul coming out here first. Well, he's got to get this lap going here.
Yep,
this is he has to. TF10 need it. He needs it. He needs that little bit of confidence, that little reboot from last week's episode. He's got to be in that window now where it's visor down, hands on the rig, pushing full limit, knowing that even if he does make a mistake, he can't back off the lap. He's just got to pretend. He's got to treat it like a musical instrument.
Yeah,
play an incorrect note and just keep going.
Well, we know that SRT are the ones fighting with them in the championship. They're 2 points ahead of TF10 or 4 points ahead in the championship. And also, Jan Halliday's unfortunately left the session. Hopefully, there's been no issue. I can see his car's actually stopped down at, or at least it looks like on the screen, his car's stopped down at turn number 3. But on the screen, it says that he's in the pit. So hopefully, there's no issues with desync in this session. But as I was saying, SRT have got 4 points ahead of TF10. Well, Jack and Lefty, we know they're 2 very quick drivers. And that will cause some sort of restart possibly, because on our screens he never left the pits. So Mr. Jan Halliday, I don't know what's happened there. Hopefully there's no issues caused. But yeah, obviously SRT, they need to get their act together. They're currently sitting 7th and 9th. They should be easily through to Q3, I think, with those 2 drivers. So Paul needs to step up and needs to be alongside. He needs to be the wingman to Max Face, otherwise that could cause some issues in their P6 fights coming through. Obviously TS are also fighting with them, but at the moment they're not looking too handy. They've got a driver who's out in Q1, and they've also got Nelson Alves, who is currently looking to be out in that drop zone. So we'll see if he can find an improvement. And a bit of a message in the chat says that Jan's PC crashed, which is far from ideal for Jan Halliday. So I don't think that will be reinstated at all. So unfortunately, it seems like Jan might be stuck at the back, as that's Jeremy going round at the S's curves, and that sends him into the wall. Well, nearly into the wall. So that's his qualifying done. We've got a few laps coming through, but a bit of a crazy end to Q1. Josh, we've got Boris just coming through that first sector.
Yeah, and also, real quickly, just want to point out, Lewis was very, very late out of pits. He's got 20 seconds to get around the chicane and get his lap time going. So he'll be cutting it very, very fine. But of course, we did have that little incident with Jeremy, but his teammate seems to be not phased by it at all. He left enough space on the track where it wasn't a distraction. His teammate politely moved out of the way. So I guess it's going to be crunch time for Vroom now, and Boris needs to get this improvement on his lap. He needs to start trying to challenge into that top 10. He needs to try and beat, the likes of Dylan and Jack West. But Dylan's still on the lap, and we know Dylan's got that potential. We know, all these drivers have so much potential. I'll keep saying it over and over again. It's because they do. We're all brilliant as Jan reconnects to the session. Unfortunately, that'll be qualifying over for him, but it's good to see that he was able to get his PC back up and working in order to compete again.
Well, his car was DSQ'd, but it was also just driving down towards 130. Luckily ghosted, and it doesn't even show up as a dot on the map. As we can see, Boris come through. He was down in that middle set, so maybe there will be no improvement for Boris. He's coming through the final corner. Can he get himself an improvement on that time? No, he can't. Well, he was, but it was 32,000, so it's not much of an improvement to get himself through. We've got Nardi Powers, I think, coming through the final corner as Paul Ekamar goes into 6th. What about Nardi? Can he find improvement? Yes, he can. Goes into 11th. Now, Dylan Warren needs to find an improvement here. He's currently in that 12th position. Jeremy's back into the pit, so he's probably, could be out in Q1. Dylan Warren coming through the final quarter. Where can he pop his Ferrari up into 9th position? That's still enough to get him through towards Q3. We've got Will Lewis, who's down on his time, and that could see Will Lewis possibly out of Q1. I just want to double check here if he is going to be out, but he's coming through towards the final few corners, and there won't be any improvement. So Will Lewis for Williams is out of Q1. Now that is the biggest surprise of all, I think, in that bottom 5. Jeremy, unfortunately, also not making it through, but his teammate Boris did make it through towards Q2. And as I said, Josh, it will be between so little margins. 40 thousandths of a second separates Boris and Jeremy.
Yeah, it's so close. And then not only that as well, you're looking at the top 10 separated by 3.5 tenths of a second. Realistically, when these drivers fully push, they're using every single inch of this track. They're using the curbs, which have the risk. These lap times are the gaps are just gonna shrink even more than what they already are. It's gonna keep building and building. We might not be able to get the F1 sim racing underway today, but when do you need it when you've got drivers with this level of talent, this level of competitiveness, and this close of a field as well? It's surely going to make for a great Q2.
Yeah. Indeed, as you can see, the final classification of that Q1 session. Tamas Gal, who we only saw for one lap, takes that fastest lap time with a 1 minute 25.908. And the only other driver to join him in the 25s is Max Wiesel, also known as Grandpa in Peter. We've got Daniel, Camille, Max, Paul, Kian, Lefty, Dylan, and Nelson in that top 10. Great there to see Nelson Alves in the top 10 for TES. And we've got Topias Covenant in 11th, Sergio Spino in 12th, Jack West 13th, Nardi Perez 14th, and Boris Zakasek making it through in 15th position. But unfortunately, we did lose Jeremy Galliner, Will Lewis, Yosto Knight, Shanakichi, and Jan Harder. Jan suffered a bit of an issue. I think he would have easily got through towards Q2. And also the two Alphas, RHD, unfortunately having that double qualifying ban due to incidents back in Kota, will start, I think, from the back of the grid. So they will start 19th and 20th. And obviously, unfortunately, Will and Jeremy was the drivers who saw out. And now, that isn't ideal for Williams at all, because they're still fighting for second in the championship. But the team it does help is first of all Veloce Academy, but also Race Clutch. Race Clutch have had a choppy few races, so having both chances of getting, I think, Sergio and Tamas through to Q3. Tamas should look quick. He could even be challenging for pole, I think, in this qualifying session. Race Clutch can try and revamp some of those issues they've been having in the previous races, which I think is something they deserve. So they've just got to put a lot of effort now into towards this Q2 and 3 session. We've got the laps already going to be starting shortly. Max Wiesel will be the first 8 on circuits, along with one of the Veloce Academies, which I believe will be Daniel. Yes, they will. Head down towards turn 1 to begin the first laps of Q2. Now, this is where we see some drivers on new tyres, some drivers on used. We'll see who's on what once the lap times come in, and we can kind of work out who's far off their Q1 pace and who's quicker / not if they're on their Q1 pace. So we can see Daniel going to be the first out on track. But actually, Josh, it looks a little bit overcast, doesn't it, over that pit lane?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a contrast from Q1. I mean, we had clear skies, it was all beautiful. But now the clouds are starting to roll in, and now I'm starting to wonder maybe I've just got to curse on these series where, well, it's a blessing for Race Clutch, because whenever I'm around, they seem to do pretty decent. Saying that, I've probably cursed them, but as well, for rain, I don't want to have to get an umbrella out. I've done my hair.
If you need to get an umbrella out, Josh, I'm confused of why you haven't got a roof on your house.
It's a long story, right? The apartment above me, they had a wild party the other night. But no, we do have a couple of people in the chat mentioning Lewis was supposed to set a fast lap. I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was absolutely pushing the limits. He saved it to the very last second in the Q1, but unfortunately, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Bruce Almighty. There you go, sorted.
I don't know what happened to Will on his lap. He must have made a mistake in that first sector, because when he come towards the end of the second sector, he was 2 seconds down. So he already, was done with that lap way before 130R, where we jumped on board with the Williams. So obviously, must have suffered an issue at the first part of the session. First part of his lap, sorry, then that just ruined his Q1. Nothing he could do about it. It was at the end. You can't really go for another lap once the clock's hit 0. So that was it for Will. Will Lewis, unfortunately, but we've seen him start to map from the map before. I believe Williams did have a qualifying ban earlier on in the season. I think it was Brazil or something. He did make himself up into that top 10. So we know that he can fight through the field very easily. So we'll see what Will Lewis can make of it once the race arrives. But Max Wiesel now started his first lap in the Q2 session, heading down in towards that first corner. Obviously part of the TF10 team. His teammate Paul Eckermar also through into Q2, so TF10 have got to get both into Q3 so they can try and launch a bit of an attack on the SRT and TES, who are sitting just above them with 4 points separating the 3 teams. That is the biggest battle going on in this championship so far. You can see Max just heading through up towards that Dunlop curve. We'll see what his first sector time will be as he heads towards the end of that first sector. Will be 31.131 for Max Wiesel. Then he'll join, head down in towards turn 8 and right, the Degner curves, then up the hill in towards the hairpin. At turn 11, he'll just throw the car into the left, try not to lock up, try not to drift the car too much through there. Very nicely so far from Max Wiesel on the exit, getting back on the power now, heading round in towards turns 12 and 13. Head down a bit of a hill, then head back up a little bit of a hill as you prepare yourself for the double spoon curves at turns 14 and 15. Yet again, just down the gears, throw the car in, be careful on the throttle because it can be quite snappy there when you get on the throttle too early. Then you'll head down bit of a straight in towards 130R, which is where you'll just see the car go flat out to the left. Just throw it round. No need to lift, no need to brake at all through that high left-hand corner. A 1 minute 10.114 for the first and second split for Max Wiesel so far on this current lap time. Down in towards the Casio Triangle, the final chicane, before you round the final corner to the right at turn 18, and he'll go back into the pit, so he won't set that lap time. But it should have been, I think, around 1 minute 28. I mean, 1 minute 26, sorry.
Yeah, I was hopping on board with a couple of the drivers, and Lefted had an absolute switcher coming up through the Dunlop curve. Ended up losing my rear slightly, caught it brilliantly, I may add, but ran over the grass, so his lap time is validated. So hopefully for him it was a scrubbed bar, so he's able just to dive it back in the pits, and he doesn't have to worry about the tire allocation too much. But of course we're gonna see the rest of the drivers file through, apart from one little Mercedes of Nardi Perez, who decides to set a 126.4.
And Boris, who goes on to a 126.9. So that's 5 tenths separating Nardi and Boris in that first part of the Q2 session. And that is not where you want to be. You don't want to be 5 tenths back off a driver in Q2. So obviously Boris needs to find an improvement going forward in towards that Q3. Topias Koivunen as well is also on lap time, but he is invalidated, so he'll be heading back into the pits shortly to conduct that first run in the qualifying. So 10 minutes left to go. The drivers should be back out shortly. You could see pretty much every driver went out, but none of them set a lap time apart from 2. Obviously just getting their bearings ready for Q2. Going towards the next part of this session as Topias will set that lap time. What would have been? It would have been a 1 minute 26.7, so would have put him in second, but would have been 3 tenths back of his teammate. So still not an ideal running from Topias, but he might actually be starting lap. No, he's not. He's on 20% battery. If he can make 20% battery last all the way around the circuit, then hats off. But I do not think that's even close to possible.
Yeah, we do have a update on what happened to Will in the Q1 segment. He had to leave and rejoin because his game froze, and it meant he had no time for a second lap and to heat up his tyres. So that's why he would have lost it in Sector 1 as well, because he didn't have the tyres in the perfect operating window, which is so critical when you're trying to hook up a lap around any track, let alone Sector 1 of Suzuka.
And that's 2 drivers with uncontrollable issues, Jan and Will. 2 drivers who we expect to get through to Q3, so it's a big shame for them. But for some of the other drivers, they'll probably be quite happy with that, because it means they have a high chance to get through and towards that Q3, or if not, a little bit higher on that grid order. So we can see Boris, Nardi head back into the pits along with Topias as well, who's second lap, but obviously it's not going to be anything classified because he is on no battery. And then we've got everyone else, 3rd, 4th, and then all the way from 6th down to 15th on an out lap, ready to begin their first laps of the Q2. With 8 minutes left to go, they can do this lap and one more, but obviously, like I said before, they're not always going to put too much risk on this first Q2 lap. There's no point putting too much risk. There's no point running it into the wall on your first lap when you know for a fact you've got 3 or 4 tenths you can use at the final part of the final part of the session. So don't expect any groundbreaking times. I'm sure there'll be a couple of drivers that will be crazy enough to set, record-breaking laps, but not everyone will. And obviously, as we said before, we've got people using those used set of tyres rather than the new tyres, so we will see, of course, that gap between those drivers. So, just on board with Jack West, heading down in towards turn 11. Jack, obviously, PC F2 champion last season in season 34. We know he's got the pace. He's probably one of the quicker drivers, if not the quickest, on this grid here tonight. So, I should be hoping to see Jack West fighting for a podium. I hope I haven't cursed him, but I think he can do it. He's got the pace. He did it in F2. He's been, I think, in PCF1 a couple of times in the past as well, making a few appearances. So we know he's got the pace. We know he's a quick driver. So we'll see what he can manage tonight here in the SRT team. Obviously, his teammate Lefty Economia alongside him yet again, another very solid driver. And we left it. He either has a really good race or a really bad race. So we'll see which one it is for, well, hopefully it is the former, meaning he gets a really good race tonight. But Max Wiesel, Josh, you're just heading along a lap time, heading towards turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, Paul Eckermeyer is slightly above him, and Paul was deliberately taking it very, very cautiously on his outlap, probably just to try and give any sort of slipstream he could down the main straight to Max behind him. But, I mean, we're going to see those cars pile through in the final sector, just trying to squabble for any bit of track position while we've got these two Red Bulls blazing ahead up the front. They won't run into any traffic. They're miles in front for that. Don't need to worry about traffic. They've just got to worry about trying to hit the apexes, getting that car rotated in, and getting some sort of traction out of these very difficult corners when the tyres are already screaming, they're overheating, they're in so much pain. But he's just got to try and find that little bit extra where some of the other drivers might not be experienced enough, and they might slowly start just believing the tyres are starting to fade, lift off a little bit earlier into corners, take it a little easier on the brakes, put the throttle down slightly more gently, but it'll just be one of those, and Paul at the minute looks like he's setting a blistering lap time for about the middle sector.
Yeah, this has got to be, I think, a 1 minute 25 at least for Paul Eckermeyer through in towards the Casio triangle, then in towards that final corner. We'll see what he can set on the lap time on the board for the TF10 team. The first lap in the Q2 session will be 1 minute 25.966. His teammate Max Wiesel also heading through at the final corner. He goes to the board with a 1 minute 28.821. So he obviously just ahead of his teammate by just over a tenth and a half of a second. As we can see, Tamás Gál split the two TF10s in second position with a 1 minute 25.853. We've got one of the Veloce Academies coming through. That's Daniel Hjels up to line. He goes into third, puts him just ahead of Paul Eckermeyer. Just trying to find all the cars coming through. We've got Keane Goenduck coming through. Is that Sergio Sabrino into the top 5? What can Keane do? He pops himself into that 5th position. Then we've got the two Ferraris, Camille and Dylan. Camille goes into 5th. What about Dylan Moran? Can he pop himself into that top 5? He only goes 8, so not very good at all for Dylan Moran in the first part of that session. We've got the two SRTs to come through as Matt Grossporter goes into 3rd. Lefted, where does he manage?
Invalidated,
Stays 12,
but
so
he was
invalidated his lap time, and Jack West hitting the wall, it seemed, went into 7th. So that now puts, as I saw someone went up to the line then, I think it was Nelson Alves to pop himself into 11th. So at the moment, out of this Q2 session, we've got both of the FBRs. We've got Lefted, Boris, and Nelson Alves. So both TES is at the moment not making it through towards Q3 in the chat. And Jan says, Nathan, I need your thoughts on DSQ. Well, I think he'd say about to buy you a new PC because we heard it was a PC crash, so not good at all. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in you as always. And Timo puts a very, well, Timo, leave that for GMs, please. And Rico says, Nathan, go. Well, thank you, Rico. Likewise to you as well, obviously, our F9 goat here in the chat. Right, so, Josh, coming towards the end of Q2 shortly, I think, yet again, we're going to see some surprises. Dylan Warren, not looking that comfortable on that 1 minute 26.214. That is 3 thousandths away from the drop zone.
Yeah, it's very, very tight there as well. Especially when you're considering it left it invalidated his lap time. And I was riding on board with him. And he took it very easy going into the Casio triangle. He didn't keep it tucked up to the wall across the finish line as well. And he did a 126 flat. So he definitely has the pace to try and push for a pole here. And if you start, considering that and think that maybe Topias might be able to get a little bit more out of what his lap time was, he'll understand the track just a little bit better with it being rubbered in more and more. We could be looking at Sergio and Dylan being in a bit of trouble here.
We could do, and well, for Sergio, unfortunately, that is something that's happened to him multiple times so far. The luck hasn't always got to him this season. But Dylan Warren, considering he, obviously part of the Ferrari team, they've scored more than 32 points every single round. They've had 4 out of 6 wins this season. To see Dylan possibly being out in Q2 is going to be probably the biggest surprise that we've seen for quite a few rounds. So, Hopefully for him, he can make it through to Q3. Camel as well, doing a decent job in that Ferrari team. It's his first appearance tonight here, and he's currently sitting in that 6th position with a 1 minute 25.971. But another team looking strong, TF10. This is probably the strongest they've looked all season. Paul Eckermann, handy in that top 5. Max Vizsla yet again at the top. We could see a really good race from TF10 if they can get themselves a 1st and 5th, or both drivers in the top 5 at least. That could eliminate any challenge from SRT and TES going towards that final round next week at Jeddah.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's just going to be about trying to pad it out, trying to feel the way through, because realistically, all they've got to do is outscore. They don't necessarily need to fight too hard on track with some of the other cars, which will be trying to fly through the field and really try audacious moves. They've just got to do their own race, for lack of a better term. They've just got to take their time. Also, you've just been ratioed in chat by Jan, so unlucky Nathan.
It's not rare, is it, Mr. Pesso? But it's a shame not to see you in Q2 and Q3. I love to commentate on Ian Halliday, but well, not going to be that much today. And if he starts at the back, I don't think we'll see much either. We'll probably end up staying down at the back as usual when he starts at the back. But when he's at the front, he's all right then. I don't mind when he's in the top 3 because he can actually get himself some decent points. And who it is, Gamer? It's fine. I know Yanni's. I'm not just bullying some random driver for the sake of it. At all. And Timo, can you stop with these personal messages? A little bit too personal for in the PSGL chat.
Timo, go get a room. But no, I mean, we got some of the other drivers coming out here on their out laps, which will be on the freshest soft compound tyre that Pirelli have been offering around. Sure, no other cars have used them, right?
I don't know.
No, not at all. Not from the tyre graveyard around the back of the Casio Triangle. No chance. Sorry, I've got to bring it up every single time we're here at Suzuka. But, I mean, realistically, you're looking at this order, you've got 300ths, a 10th, 1200, 1400ths, 1500ths. Everything's very, very close, all the way up till, Sergio. And then you've got basically a 10th gap back to Dylan, which would tell me that Dylan, Nelson, Nardi, and Boris still can find that time.
Yeah.
Maybe they were on scrubbed sets. Maybe they did that outlap and didn't swap the tyres over. Maybe they was just trying to play it around a little bit as we got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking.
I think it's for lots of Sergio, Dylan, and Nelson. They need to find at least 2 or 3 tenths. Boris needs to find probably a second. Nardi Post needs to find pretty much 6 tenths of a lap. So they need to find a lot of time, especially those in 12th and 13th. And Lefted and Tobias need to get a lap on the board. We know Lefted as well. He's on to get through into Q3, so he's also another competitor to pop himself in towards that Q3. So we'll see what he can do. Lefted is going to be the first one to set a lap here at the end of this Q2 session. So as we know, the bottom 5 will go out. At the moment, it's Nelson, Nardi, Boris, Lefted, and Tobias. But that could be completely different by the time we end this Q2. Dylan Moore also on the cusp of being out. He's got 3 thousandths to Nelson Alves in that drop zone. So we'll see what Dylan can also do from that 10th position. But Lefted coming through in towards the first part of this first set, just heading through the S's curve, just throwing the car in, using all that risk he can now at the end of this session as they all fly through. And we've got multiple people starting their laps. Actually, at the back, you can see everyone pretty much stopped getting ready. Hopefully, no one gets ended up not being able to set a lap because the timer has struck quite closely to 0, I think, shortly. So hopefully, everyone can get a lap time on the board in this session. Lefty Josh just heading down towards turn 11. He needs to get these final 2 sectors very, very hooked up.
Absolutely, I'm riding on board with him, and he's absolutely straining the life out of this Aston Martin car. He's absolutely leaving nothing on the table. He wants to try and get that provisional pole in Q2 just to secure and build the confidence going up into Q3. But you can see here, heading all the way through Spoon, hits that inside apex, leans it out to the outside, but keeps it within the track limits. Keeps it very much within track limits. He kept the 2 wheels in there as we ride all the way up now to 130R. This poor little Aston Martin, I feel so sorry for it. It's being revved out of its absolute mind, but ends up flicking it into 130R, perfectly flat, doesn't run it wide either. Lovely job, ends up breaking for the Casio Triangle, takes a big heap on the curbs, 1 and 2, rides that 3rd curb there, gets the rotation in, and he keeps it nice and tight to the pit wall, and that will be P7 for Lefteds.
No, I don't think that's going to be too safe. Keane going up into that top 2 for Williams. What about Jack West? Can he find any improvement to get himself even further up in this Q2 session? Trelawney goes, doesn't find any improvement. So Jack could be at a risk of being out in Q2. We've got Sergio Sprinter on board with him now as his teammate Tamas Gale's coming through the final. But I want to watch Sergio. He's currently very close to that drop zone. Dylan Warren is in that drop zone. Boris won't be making it through to Q3 for Vroom. Sergio Sabrino doesn't improve. He's now going to be possibly out of Q2. Dylan Warren is down on his time in that middle sector. He needs to find 0.2 of a second to make it through to that top 10. Will the Ferrari make it through as his teammate goes third? What about Dylan Warren? Can he make it through to Q3? No, he can't. Dylan Warren out of the Q2 session here at Suzuka. Nelson Alves goes into 11th. He's also out, as that was, I believe, Tobias Koivunen into the top 5 for FVR. Brilliant lap time. That knocks Sergio out of Q2 as well. But Dylan Warren, 14th. Now that is a big surprise. And also, hats off to FVR getting their stuff in the top 6. That's the highest we've seen them, I think, this season so far in qualifying. So brilliant lap time from Tobias. But, well, that session did bring a lot of surprises. Sergio and Dylan out in Q2.
Yeah, it's not something you would necessarily expect to see there. SRT both being able to squeeze through there by the slimmest of margins, but I'm sure that'll help them with their race strategy and their race plan. But it might not necessarily... Sorry, Boris got disqualified?
Oh.
What's going on with this session?
Is there any issues, possibly? Well, obviously, Boris was there anyway, so they will just put him into that 14th position, I think. But the fact he got disqualified afterwards is quite confusing. But we can see the final classification of the Q2 session. Tamas Gal takes the fastest lap time, I think, yet again, here ahead of Max Wiesel. The exact same as what we saw in Q1 between those two. Then Kamil Sasha in that top 3 there for Ferrari. Then Max Gross points followed by Keen Goendup, Topias Koivunen, Daniel Hjelds, Paul Eckermite, Jack West, and Lefted in that top 10. Then unfortunately, Josh, we did lose Sergio Sabrino. I only said Sergio Perez. Nelson Alves, Boris Zakasek, Dylan Warren, and Nardi Perez now. Well, that's all I can say about that.
7 constructors in the top 10 as well. It just goes to show the depth of talent.
Yeah. And Harlem in the chat says, odds on Dylan still winning, probably going to happen. He nearly went from last to first in Monaco until the game put him on hard. So, it's more than possible.
Yeah, as we were saying, you can't predict anything here. All the drivers are so equally talented. You know, some of them might be having a bit of a worse day for wear. Some of them might be absolutely on fire today. They might love Suzuka. You know, it's so different. It's so tough to be able to sort of balance in between the amount of tracks and the sort of tracks we have here on this calendar as well. So, you know, these drivers, they know what they've signed up for. They know what they're prepared for. Suzuka's on the mind. They would have learnt the overtaking spots. They would have learnt the strategies. What works best for them personally, and then what's going to be, you know, the default strategy that most of the teams are going to sort of tweak the strategy around.
Yes.
They'll understand, and we know one thing is that the eSport Ferrari team, and I have to say eSport in front, they're no slouches when it comes to strategy. They know what they're doing.
Yes, definitely. I think they're one of the best teams on the strategy. They've always been on point with that strategic element. You can see on our screens that it is a sunny Q3 session, but before we get through in towards the fun part of qualifying, I'm going to have a quick word to our sponsors over at GT Omega. Oh, wrong screen. There we are.
Oh.
Bit of a mugshot then.
We
we're back trackside here for the Q3 session at Suzuka. We've got 10 very quick drivers in this top 10. We've got lots of Kamil, Kian, 2 drivers we haven't seen this season there through and towards that top 10. And I look back at the screen and oh, that is such a mugshot. That's going to be taken by someone and popped on Twitter, I guarantee. And also FVR, first Q3 appearance, I believe, this season. We've got a very good fight for pole tonight.
Exactly. I mean, everyone's here. Everyone wants to get that pole position. Everyone wants to be the first one leading down into turn 1. Obviously, you can't win the race going down into turn 1. The amount of times I've had that one told to me whenever I was racing is a bit of a personal joke to me. But I still tried it. But we know these drivers, they're just slightly above my quality. They know what they're doing.
Slightly.
They know that just slightly, just like a couple hundredths, I promise.
Okay. Okay.
But no,
Give me a couple
these
seconds.
drivers, yeah.
I can't say much different myself.
A couple minutes maybe, but these drivers they know how to run the race. They know what they're going to be going for. They know they just want to kind of place themselves in a good position. Whether it's going to be on the rubber side of a track or not, it'll be where they've practiced from.
Yep.
It'll be where they've been able to do their research, and they'll be looking. who would have come into this qualifying with an expected grid position, right?
Or at
Their
least
teams would have
a
discussed.
prediction of
Yeah,
where they want to be.
exactly. And because, we've had a couple disconnects as well, a couple of these drivers might be bumped up a little bit. They've just not got a leg to get to them.
Indeed.
Like you mentioned, FER, Topius, first time in Q3, just don't let it get to you.
Yep, and the
All
issue
you got to do is keep building.
the issue that he could have though is he's in the top 10 now. Yes, great for the race, and then all it takes is that one mistake in the race, and it's like you started back down in the bottom 5 again, because that's all it takes. So in a circuit like this, the first lap, be cautious. Don't be too risky on that first opening lap, because it can cause that race to go from you being in that top 10, being happy, being where you want to be, to all the way at the back and thinking, oh, why did I sign up for this? I want to leave. So, like I said, I know we're only in qualifying, but for the race, just take it cautiously. Same as this session, the first lap, don't push too much, because you want to be able to, save yourself some time for the final lap times, the best conditions, the best tyres. Then you can go full force. If it doesn't work out, at least you tried. But in the first part of qualifying 3, don't risk it all. Don't lose it straight away, because then you've got to watch the next 7 minutes go by. Everyone has set faster times. You're going to have no time. You're going to start in P10, which is the last place that you do want to start in, indeed, for the race. But Tamás Gáll going to be heading through to the Casio Triangle to begin the first lap for the Q3 session. Obviously, his teammate Soda Spino dropped out in P11. Obviously, didn't find an improvement, needed at least a 10th, but couldn't find it, unfortunately. So he's out in Q2. So it's all down to Tamás for the race clutch team. They head down in towards turn 1 to begin the first lap of Q3. Yet again, we see every time down to 5th gear in that first couple of corners, get back on the throttle. You come through towards the S's curves. Yet again, just drive the car in left, right. Then we'll go back to left, back to the right. And just be careful not to go too much on the curves. Don't touch that grass, otherwise that is your lap time done for completely. Then you head up the Dunlop curve, yet again, back to left, up a bit of a hill. Be careful in the entry. We know sometimes people can go a little bit wide. That's their lap time gone as well. There's a lot of parts of this track where going a little bit wide can do it. Not just because of the fact you're going to run off, it's because of the fact you're going onto grass or gravel. And there's nothing you can do to save the car at that point. As you head now in towards the hairpin at turn 11, you can see just throwing it down to 3rd gear, shifting down quite late to 3rd gear on entry of the corner, then back on the power as you come round in towards turns 12, 13 and 14 towards that spoon curve section. Yet again, another place you can easily lose her in, easily lose that lap time, so you just want to brake just after that 50 metre board, use that inside curb, run one on the exit. Yet again, try not to touch that inside curb too much on the exit turn, on the entry of turn 14. Obviously ride wide on the exit of that corner as you head down now in towards 130R, flat out corner in gear 8. You can see Tamás just revving the absolute everything off that car as he heads through in towards there. Then you'll shift in just after that 100 metre board in towards the Casio Triangle, down to 3rd gear. Try not to invalidate your lap through there, as we know it's easy to jump that curb and invalidate your lap. You come through the final corner. What will it be for the first opening lap in Q3? 25.576. That's 3 tenths quicker than any time we saw in Q1 and Q2. Brilliant lap time there by the race clutch driver.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Max here. He's looking good. He's got purple sector 2, and he's absolutely pushing the bejeebus out of this little Red Bull. Now, it's going to be whether he's going to be able to keep it balanced over the curbs. He's done a great job there. He's kept it balanced going through the Casio Triangle. He's going to be revving that car all the way down, getting as much traction as possible. He's going to be able to cross the line with a 125.6. Now, that's a gap we're not used to seeing. We've not seen it all throughout qualifying. These two have been so close together.
Yeah, as Camel pops himself into 4th, 2,000ths back from left-id. Paul Eckermont unfortunately didn't get that lap time. He had an invalidation. I believe also we didn't see any lap time set from Topias, Daniel, Kian either. So, the top 6, the ones who've set lap times. Tamás Gáll on that provisional pole, the 10th ahead of Max Wiesel, and 2 tenths back from that. He's left it in 3rd, Kamil Sasha in that top 4, Max Grospointer in 5th, and Jack West in the top 6. Remember, Ferrari need to score 32 points to get themselves the championship tonight. If they don't, they will most likely not make it through, depending on where Village Academy are going in towards the next round. So, there's still the pressure wasn't really there for Ferrari. The pressure's not really there now, but there's a little bit more. Dylan's going to be 14th. He's got a lot of work to do. We know Dylan can make his way back through easily, but it's that added pressure, it's that added risk that Dylan has to put into the race to get himself further up. You can see Topi's just coming through. I believe he's let off his lap. No, I don't think he was on one anyway. He invalidated on his first one, so he'll be heading back into the pits. But yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left to go in the chat. Let us know who you think will take pole. I've already saw a couple of predictions, and Tom and DeBonken says Tamás pole. Dirk says Kian for pole. But let us know, everyone in the chat, who you think will take that pole position. 10 drivers fighting for it. 6 drivers with a lap time so far, and the top 2 currently sitting at Tamás Gáll and Max Wiesel. We saw that in Q1, Q2, possibly here again here in that Q3. They're all heading back into pits after their first runs, getting ready to begin their second and final runs for qualifying. Josh, who's your take for pole?
My take is Max. We know TF10. We know they're under a bit of pressure, and we know exactly what Max is like. Max Wiesel, he's an animal when it comes to pressure. Diamonds are made under pressure, and Max Wiesel is absolutely a prime example of it. Where he's been in a couple situations before where he's had the pressure applied to him and he's ended up delivering. So I can see it happening once again. I feel like Max is one of the safer shouts for pole, but I can see it. He's got the dog in him. I can see it.
Indeed, we'll see what he can do. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with lefted. I've seen it. He's got some pace. He's good in quality. I'm going to go with lefties for pole position here tonight. Currently sitting in third. He's about, what's that, 2.5 cents back off Tamas. I think he can take it.
Yeah, we got some more. We got Paul Leckelmeyer, we got Tamas, and we got Otmir.
Well, I don't think Otmir is racing. If he is, I don't want to know what account he's on, because
He's,
way, I think he should be quicker than any of the lap times we got so far.
He's also filming a new Hobbit film as well in New Zealand.
Is he? You said that multiple times.
I'm telling you, it's happening. Just wait for it.
Diego
Ron
says
Hart
Ron half
for
a
pole.
pole. No, Ron Hart's not here,
My word.
unfortunately. Well,
No,
they should be in an undisclosed location this week. Unfortunately, not going to be happening now, due to F1 being as great as a company as they are always.
Who needs it?
It's not going to continue. And Dude Bob says, I go Max, he has 3 poles in ECGS. Could make it 4. No one has a chance of taking that record away from Max this season. 3 pole positions, but it just seems in the race, things don't go well. And, well, that's why they've only been in the top 3 times this season. If Max could have converted them poles into wins or converted them into top 5s, TF10 probably could be in that top 5 in this championship. As we also see Christian say, Tausch is cooking, he'll do a high 0.4. There we are, I got our first predictions of lap time. So Christian says a high 0.4. What do other people think in terms of lap times? Let us know in the chat what lap time you think that pole position time will be. We got Kian going to be first out on track for the Williams team. His teammate Will Lewis starting to end his 17th. So Kian recently joined the Williams team, or at least recently signed some sort of partnership with the Williams team. He's currently in the top 10, doing better than Will Lewis, who's been there for quite a while. So Will, you need to figure out what's going on there. Will, you don't want to be beaten by Keane. He's only been there a few weeks.
Yeah, I don't feel like we can put that one on Will. He had an issue with the game. Come on, let's let him off. But I'm definitely keen to see what he'll be able to do coming back through the grid for. That should be good fun.
I think him and Dylan, I'm keen to see how they can work their way through the field. I know those two are quite, they are very quick, Will and Dylan. They've been around for quite a long time. So yeah, I'm expecting to see them both try and fight into that top 10. Dylan, I can expect a top 5. He did it in Monaco. He can do it here. So I'm hoping to see him a little bit further up, and hopefully the race goes well. The issue they have around the track like this is overtaking isn't that easy. So that could pose an issue for Dylan and Will, of course. But Key just heading through out of the spoon curves. We've got the 2 SRTs behind, also yet again in the top 10, both of them. So we've got Camel, Max also in that top 10. Max is doing a decent job in that top 5. Remember, he's only been on PC very recently. Max Crosspointer hasn't at the moment. He's doing wonders on that PC side.
Yeah, his PC's not failed him yet, and it's going to be very interesting. I say that we know what it can be like, but Max, he shifted over to PC, had a little bit of time to adjust. He's here, he's looking to perform, and to be quite honest with you, he's took me a bit by storm. I wasn't expecting him to be as quick as this. I knew he was quick, but I didn't necessarily see him comfortably getting through into Q3 and putting a bit of pressure on. The likes of Camille lefted. Didn't see that one happening, but he's going to be coming and starting his lap as we've seen. The Williams, the Aston Martins, the Ferraris, his teammate as well. All of them finding their way through the S's section.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers can find themselves at least fighting for pole, or at least fighting for that top 3 here today. Keane Gondorp heading through in that first sector, 30.762. Got no delta to go off. He didn't sell that time at the start of the session, so it's all down to see what he can do without any delta that time, without any, sort of prediction of, not prediction, any sort of guide of what happened in the first lap in the different sectors. So it's all just got to go for it and see what happens. He's coming through and in towards Spoon Curves, a double left-handers at turns 14 and 15. We'll see if he can find anything in this part of the circuit. You can see just shifting down to 6th gear. Many drivers shifting down to 5th. So a little bit different of an approach there from the Williams driver. Heading through now in towards 130R. Bit of a straight before he hits. There's no DRS down this section. There's only one DRS down this circuit, which is in towards turn 1. Key Gold up a 109.420. Now that, I think that's a decent split sector for first and second. So we'll see if he can hook it up in the final sector. Through in towards the Casio triangle. Try not to invalidate. Don't invalidate it here, Keane. That would really ruin that lap. Through into the final corner towards line. What can Keane Gold up set? It will be P3 with a 25.741. Lefted has always messed up his lap. He must have messed up the final corner. What about Jack Westwagen? He goes into fourth just ahead of his teammate matching the time of King Gondel. We've got a few more drivers coming through. Camel Statra into that top 2. I think we've got Tamashko as well, heading down in towards the final chicane at the Casio Triangle. That was Daniel Kielton only managing 8th. What about Max Crossboard? Going to heap up himself any high? He goes into 4th for the Veloce Academy. What about Tamashko? Can he extend that gap at the front? Yes, he can. By about 30 thousandths of a second to Camel Statra and Max Wiesel. He takes pole position.
Ooh.
Brilliantly lap. Then we got Paul Eckelmeyer, the teammate of Max. Can he try and make it a 1-2 for the TF10 team? No, will only go 8th. What about Tobias Koivunen for his first time in Q3? Will only manage P10. But Max Wiesel, 4 poles here in the 7. Absolutely amazing. 33 thousandths, 85 thousandths separated in the top 3. Brilliant.
He's just got to hope now that he's able to transfer it into the race. As you mentioned before, he's had a few issues with it, but it's looking promising so far. Top 3, just separated by underneath a 10th. Then you got a 10th gap back to, the rest of the field. And I've been back with no disrespect whatsoever. Max, Kian, Jack, Lefted, Paul, Daniel, Topius as well. All of them phenomenal drivers. And it's all so tight up here at the front. It's going to be an interesting race. And I feel like a lot of the drivers are going to be risking it on the first lap. I feel like we're not going to heed our advice.
Indeed. And I'm just going to get ourselves back onto the camera screens. We have to do a bit of setting up midstream so we can get Josh on our screens with us quickly. There we are.
There we go.
You should be on
Lovely
there.
stuff.
Mr. Blondie. Can you go down a bit? Can you move down? Half your head's been cut off.
Thanks.
There we are.
Okay, right, hold on.
And
There
you're
you
Joshua
go.
Birch for today.
I am. I'll take it. It's an honour.
Well, I think you've both got blonde hair, so very similar. You've got the same first name, just not the same last name. So
Yeah.
I think it checks out.
A little
And
different.
we now get ready for our, as usual, lobby restart, which is never any fun.
Yes.
It's always boring. Here, waiting for lobby restart, but it's EA, it's F1. Why would they make anything easy for us? They wouldn't, would they? As we can see in the chat, Avatar saying it is difficult to predict who will win. There are many favourites: Tamash, Kian, Sergio, Grandpa. Second, we got Max, Dylan, Jack. You've named half the grid there, Avatar. I think you're right with that. Anyone could win. There's a lot of drivers who are going to be in favour to win. Also going to be in favour from their teammates, as usual. Jan, don't start, please. Don't start. I know you're being sarcastic. I don't like it myself, but once it grows out, it gets a lot better. I don't like it when it's short, but once it grows out, it's a lot nicer.
It doesn't look that bad.
I don't like it.
Could be blonde.
I look a little bit like a fake roadman. I don't like it at all.
I got called Perfect Peter from Horrid Henry the other day.
Wow.
Not sure whether it made my day or ruined it.
No comment. Nathan, show the headset hair dent. It's not there anymore. It was before. It was really bad. But no, it's not there now. And then Dude Bob says, I think Warren has the most wins here with 3. I thought he only had 2. If he's got 3, I'm mistaken. I know some Arab guys, they'll cut that, mate. Listen, the Turkish barbers are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If you want to go to any barber, go to a Turkish barber. They are amazing. There's a lot around now. There's quite a lot of Turkish barbers around. Honestly, better than any of the English barbers that are obviously in England. But no, they're amazing. So, if you need a barber and you find a Turkish barber, go straight to it. And Rubik says in chat, pick up to my boys, Boris and Jeremy. Let's go, guys. Yes, Boris and Jeremy, not ideal for a start, but we know they can try and work something in the race. There's 27 laps to go, so they can try and recover some of that qualifying issues that they had. But let's on the chat, everyone. Any predictions for the race? I know it's a bit early to predict for the win, but in general, is there any predictions? Do you think we'll see safety cars? Do you think we'll see any drivers DNF that year? That could be a bit of a surprise. Let us know any predictions in the chat. It always gives us something to talk about as well and have a bit of a think about in the race. And also, if you get it right, it gives you a bit of bragging rights going in towards that race. But yeah, we've got to wait for everyone to get in. We've got 13 drivers in the session right now. We've got 27 laps of Japan, and also it's dynamic weather. This could be interesting.
It could certainly throw a spanner in the works. I'm keeping my eye on Jack West for this race. He had really good qualifying pace. He seemed to have a car under control. He wasn't pushing it to the point where it was, twitching out and him losing the rear. He was in control of it. And that's exactly what you need if you're going to try and make an overtake work around Suzuka. You can't have a car which is going to surprise you with a snap of oversteer. So I'm not going to say I'm going to put money on Jack West, but I feel like he's going to have a good one. I can just feel it. So it's something in my fingers.
See, I don't always like to make predictions because I think every season that I've made a prediction, it's gone wrong. I think pretty much apart from one race. So I don't know. But then again, there's that many drivers that can do well. It's hard. I don't want to make a prediction, first of all, because I could be heavily wrong, because there's that many people that could fight for a win. Also, I don't want to curse them, because, as I said before, I've cursed every single driver on this grid, I think, at least once so far this season for multiple different reasons. But yeah, I think I have to go with anyone. Probably Tamash. Yeah, he's in second position. We know he's decent in the race, so I think he could do well. Weather-wise, I don't really know who's quick in the wet. I know Dylan's quick in the wet. Apart from that, I don't have a clue, because you can't really get any data from wet weather at Monaco. I don't think that's fair to say that person's quick in the wet, because Monaco's Monaco.
Yeah, especially when it came to heavy rain and intermediate tyres being the way to go. That was a weird one. I'd encourage anyone to watch that one.
Yeah, it's on the chat. Maloom, not very nice at all, is it? I won't commentate with you again for a charity event next time. You can do it by yourself. And he also says hello to you, Josh.
Hi, I'm Mr. Butch today.
When are you going to be back? When are you going to be back to JGM next week?
Tomorrow.
Oh, or tonight after this race, probably. I hope you're not taking his name for the whole evening.
No. No comment.
Well,
but no, I do hope Mr. Butch is doing okay.
Hopefully, I presume he's mate. I have an idea it's something to do with the weather and the connection issues. Because if you don't know, Josh has his commentary box and his PC in the garage, and well, that's not connected from the house. So when there's issues with weather, it ruins connection to the internet and stuff like that. So that's most likely what the issue is. So hopefully Josh is all right. If you're here watching, Josh, if you managed to get anything back, hello. But if you're not, then if you watch it back later, you've heard us say hello. And Emily says, Will Gibson told me this. I did not invented it. It's Will Gibson. Why wouldn't he try and offend me? After all, it's all friendly fire. So, yes. But we've got 27 laps underway shortly. We've got 20 drivers in the lobby. Yes. Dylan Warren, yet again, thanks for being our host. I think he's hosted all the rounds here that he's been part of this season. It was always good to have a reliable lobby host that gets things sorted quickly. We've got all the drivers in. Dylan's now just doing the grid as we speak. We'll then get all the drivers to ready up. Then we'll have the 30-second wait. Then we'll have the starting procedure. Hopefully we don't have to have a second one a lap later if it's a safety car. I'm hoping turn one goes well, but we don't know what will welcome us.
No, I feel like it'll be one of those. I feel like as long as everyone's on the same page, if they all want to go hyper aggressive, they'll be aware that everyone else is going hyper aggressive. But if there's going to be a couple of them taking it a little easy, maybe towards the front, while everyone else is trying to go really aggressive with bold moves, places where you shouldn't stick your front nose, that's when accidents happen, and that's when the safety car is going to get brought out. Obviously, Suzuka safety cars go hand in hand, realistically, don't they? So it'll be sort of interesting to see how that one's going to develop. But I could see a couple of drivers starting to ready up here.
Yes, I believe we are going to be getting ready to go in towards the 27-lap Grand Prix. Obviously, 50% of the real life distance. I believe it's around 150 kilometres I complete here in a 50% race. I think it's about 300 and something IRL, so it would be around 150. Don't know if that information needs to be given to you, but yes. All I know is that Japan is very temperamental with weather. It's either wet, it's either very dry or very wet, one of the two. It's never in the middle. So we're either going to have full wet or full dry. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got 5 seconds to go till we get ourselves into lobby and we can stop nattering on about absolute nonsense here in the live chat. And we've got the main screen.
In the chat, Avatar's made a great point. Because of the way, the S's are formed in Sector 1, if you run wide slightly, you're going to be losing a handful of positions,
not
just
one. Causing a lot of collisions.
Yes, as well. Especially considering rejoin as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we have the wait for player screen graphic on our screen. Let us on the chat now, everyone. Who you think will take victory here tonight? It's Max Wiesel on pole ahead of Tamash Gal and Camel Stacher. Camel making his first appearance. Max and Tamash, we've seen him multiple times. So let's know on the chat who your predictions are for the victory. We've got the loading complete now on our screen, so we have the 30-second waits. Yes, again, talk nonsense until the race begins. Sometimes we have a very short hold, sometimes we have a very, very long hold. So, Tieton on pole for the 4th time this season, nothing new, but it's all about what they can do in the race. Max has struggled in the race in the past. He got a 4th back in Kota. Apart from that, he's never finished any higher than that. So he wants to get his first podium, wants to get TF10's first podium of the season with Paul being in 8th. He's got a lot of work to do. Podium, probably not much on the cards for him being in that position. And for that, got lots of Dylan and Will who'll be looking to try and force themselves through the grid to get some decent positions. So, we wait. We'll see what the strategy is as well. That's another key thing. Soft, mediums, hards
Yes.
will probably be used all across the grid. I think we'll mostly likely see a soft and a hard. Mediums not always used as much at the start of the race. So we're just waiting for the players to load. We've got all of our... Well, normally there's fans on the left, but there's no fans here today, so I don't want to be sent on the roof. And we've got all the marshals on the right-hand side, along with the engineers for the teams. No pit crew. They're all sitting having a relax ready for the race. And I can't see what tyres are in the pit, so I can't really have any assumption of what tyres the drivers could be starting on. But you can see the Williams garage, Will and Kian. Kian starts, I think, in the top 5. Will starts in 17th, so not ideal, but not also that bad at all from the Williams team. We're still waiting. We can see the camera going on across the zip line, showing us all the good. I can just about see Mercedes, a Haas, and an Alpine on the bottom right of my screen. In the corner there, obviously getting ready.
What? So the drivers are doing last-minute tyre swaps. I mean, we've got a good mix of tyre compounds. I don't want to spoil it.
Yes, and we can see now the lights are on. 3, 4, 5 lights forward. The Suzuka Grand Prix. It's Max on pole, Tamash in second. They head down towards turn 1. Who got the better start? I think it was Max by quite a margin with the better start. Tamash actually had a really poor start because then we've got Camo looking for him, but also that's Max Gross pointing towards turn 1, trying to make a move on the Ferrari. Couldn't do anything there as they head through side by side. Jack West also on the back of King Gondel. That's someone red already. That's Jeremy down at turn 1. He's had a bit of a spin, a bit of contact with someone further back. We can see Sergio Sabrino fighting with Paul Eckermeyer side by side with the S's. That doesn't always end well. Who will come out ahead between those two? I think Sergio has to chuck it back up the inside. Paul around the outside to make it through, and Paul keeps that position. P9 for the TF10. Boris now looking for a move on the back of Sergio Sabrino as Nelson Alves making a move into P11. Jack West now hunting down Kian Goldorp for that P5. SRC has also had a decent start. They're running 6th and 7th, and that is Jack up the inside. Nearly taking out the back of Mats. Gets himself ahead of Kian, and further back we can see that's Daniel Kielsa looking for a move on the left did.
Yeah, Nelson also lost it heading under the bridge as well. I believe there might have been a little bit of contact, so that's relegated him down to 19th place. But the soft tyre runners have done exactly what they needed to do. They've been able to get ahead, keep the position on track, and really start and try and, you know, look after the tyres a bit more than the hard tyres. Hard tyres are going to be looking to try and put a bit of pressure on the soft tyres, run them off the road, just get them slightly more worn. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting. We've also got Yost as well. P15 at the minute, making a lovely little move going through 130R on the medium compounded tyre. The outlier, the one who, the black sheep here of the tyre compounds, he's going to be looking to do anything in his power to get the Alfa Romeo into a position. Might be relying on a safety car, but you never know when it comes to these sort of races, do you, Richie?
No, we don't. We don't know until the final lap, until they all cross on. As you can see, Yost getting himself into P14 ahead of Jan Halliday, who's also had a decent start, considering I believe he did start to the back, unless they reinstated him to P15/P16. Otherwise, he's had a storming start in the middle of this start of this Grand Prix. But also, Sergio Serena making a move in that first couple of laps. Boris also making a couple of moves on those soft tyres, making them work well. And Keane's actually lost a position. Jack West also had a very decent start. So many people on those softs having good starts. Those on the hard, not so much, but they are, you know, they're going to have less grip because of those hards. And also when you're running high fuel, hards aren't always the most ideal compound to be running on. As I head down towards a hairpin, yet again, no move's being made. Actually, there is a move. That's just Nordart looking for a move to pop himself into P13 ahead of Tobias Koivunen, who started in that 10th position, now down to P14 after starting on those hard tyres. Definitely not an ideal start for him at all. Further up, we can see lots of Sergio Sabrino getting in on Paul Eckelmeyer. Those who had a great battle on that one day at the SE's section. Paul did get that edge ahead of Sergio Sabrino, so we'll see if Sergio can try and fight back down towards 130R. He's about 3 tenths back, so he's not going to be able to find anything just yet, but I think soon he will be able to try and launch an attack on the back of the TF10. And actually, he's got Boris closing in right behind. Boris having a really decent start here for the Vroom team. They all fly down in towards Casio Triangle one by one as they fly through. And Boris, maybe we could see a move to get him into that top 10 because he's only 3 tenths back from Sergio. As that's further back. Is that Nelson with another bit of an issue down at the final corner?
Yeah, Nelson managed to get the move done before 130R, and then for the Casio Triangle, they absolutely sent one on Nardi Perez from a fair few miles back. End up tapping the side of him and end up losing it, and that's put him back down to P19 on that soft tyre. He's trying to do everything in his power to get back past these hard runners, but I feel like he's got to be a little bit more cautious when trying to make these overtakes because he's got a lot to lose here.
Yeah.
It might not look like it at this moment in time, but when the pit stops start coming round, he'll realise how much of a good position he could potentially be in.
Indeed, as we can see yet again, Yost Nordart looking for a move on Dylan Warren. Dylan's into 12th, so made 2 positions on the race start. Not the most ideal start for normally see Dylan make quite a few more than that if he doesn't start on pole. So we'll see what he can do. Obviously, he's on those hard CO. He won't be quicker than most filled ahead, but he could be quicker than maybe a couple others on those soft run on those soft tyres. So Yost Nordart on the back of Dylan Warren heading through out of the hairpin down towards Spoon Curve. Yost is gaining in quickly on the back of Dylan Warren. We'll see if he can try and make a move anytime soon. He's not close enough in towards Spoon Curve. Maybe he can try and launch a move in towards 130. You can see Dylan will be a little bit slower than Yost on these tyres at the moment. So you can see great exit there from Yost. Not using a bit of battery there on the back of his Alfa Romeo. He's going to look for a move, I think, in towards 130 because he's dumping that battery he lets off. So he's not going to look for it just yet. But he has got a great run. Possibly in towards the chicane. He's coming through to the left, back to the right shortly before they're heading towards the brake zone. You can see Dylan didn't need to defend, but he did move over a little bit to the right hand side just in case Yost did go for a bit of a send in towards that braking zone. And you can see a decent exit though from the Alfa Romeo down towards turn 1. Chanakichi making a move ahead of Will Lewis in towards that final chicane. You can see now a decent run as Tomasz Gal takes lead away from Max Wiesel with that DRS in towards turn 1. You can also see Yost gaining in on the back, Dylan Warren also gaining in the back of Boris Sakasek, and also Yost gaining in on the back of Dylan Warren. But as we always see, Josh, when you got this DRS train, no one can find a move anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult. The drivers are really going to have to try and catch the driver in front, you know, a bit off guard, maybe going into one of the corners where you wouldn't necessarily expect an overtake. But when you do that, you're compromising both of your runs going through the next couple of corners, which will lose you an ample worth of time, which could eventually cause you to drop out of DRS if you're not in a position to really try and capitalize on it and move forward. So it'll be very much about waiting and biding their time. It wouldn't surprise me if we see the lead swap places a few more times, as Yost had a little look up the inside of that hairpin there, realised it wasn't necessarily on, but fair play to Dylan, leave him the room. But this is what I mean. The gap to Dylan and Boris now is slowly starting to open up. And the more Yost kind of lingers and flirts with trying to get this past on Dylan, the larger that gap's going to be until eventually one of them's going to run out of that 1 second window. We'll lose with DRS, and then we're in a completely different split, almost a whole subcategory, F2 if you will.
Yep, that's the thing I'm going to have to be careful of, especially on those hard tyres, because they will lose more and more pace as it goes on. But I think once you get to around laps 7 or 8, that's when we'll see the softs become the slower side. That's when we'll see the hards try and thrive and work their way through. You can see further back that's Nardi Perez looking for a move there on Jan Halliday. And again, Jan did make some moves at the start of the race, but he hasn't been that quick since he's got away. He's nearly been overtaken there by Nardi, so he could be on that risk of dropping down to P16. The 2 FVRs not doing too well at the moment, but P14 and P16, it's not the worst position in the world. They could be last. They could be 19th and 20th, so it's something decent for them. Jeremy, I believe, went into the pits because he's only on 3-lap hard tyres. Either that or he's had a couple more spins as the race has got underway. Nelson Alves still sitting him on the back of Will Lewis. He can't really find much work on his tyres either, so not good at all for the TS driver who started, I believe, up in 11th position. So it's been a very poor start for Nelson indeed. Further up we can see Max Gross points are closing in on the back of Cam Mustache. Remember, Ferrari need to score 32 points if they want to take the championship tonight. If they don't, then they need to keep themselves 58 points ahead of Veloce, who at the moment are doing a great job sitting 4th and 8th now. Actually, could be looking to take 4th and 7th as lefted. Had a bit of a poor exit at the hairpin. Daniel's got a great exit, trying to go to the outside lefted, not really giving him much room to go anywhere, just making him stay behind the back of the Aston Martin. They come through towards Spoon again. Is there an opportunity there for Daniel to try and get it on the exit at the corner down towards 130R? No, not much at all there for Daniel, unless he can try and use a bit of battery, and no, he's going to sit back for now. But as I said, Veloce, they're in a really good position to try and take some decent points, and maybe, even if they haven't got a realistic opportunity of beating Ferrari, just take it to the final round. Not give Ferrari one round, because that's the last thing you want to do. Lose a championship a round before it ends. That's the last thing you want, as you can see yet again. Max Feast on the back of Tomasz Gal to take the lead of the race. Obviously, with that DRS, which is it's an inevitable move. Of course, it's going to happen when you're sitting there. As you can see, actually, Daniel's going to make a move there on left in towards turn 1, and Daniel does make the move. Great move there to pop himself into the top 7 at the moment. Veloce, I think, in terms of teams, are probably doing the best with that 4th and 7th. You've got TF10 sitting 1st and 9th. Race Clutch 2nd and 10th. Ferrari 3rd and 12th. So Dylan needs to try and move his way up the field. Needs to get some more points on the board for the Ferrari team. And further back, Jeremy's just losing more and more time. At this point, I don't think Jeremy can do much, can he, Josh? He's just got to hope for a safety car.
No, I mean, he's out of that DRS, and it's so prominent around this circuit. It'll just be one of those things where he's just going to have to keep running his own race and hope for a safety car. It's realistically out of his control at this moment in time. But we do have a question from Cricket Bandit in chat asking if the undercut is powerful.
Both strategies are. It depends. The undercut's powerful at the start of the stint. At the end of the stint, it's awful. But for the overcut at the start of the stint, it's awful because of the undercut being better. But by the end of the stint, it's better than the undercut. So they both work hand in hand at different points of the race. So it just depends. Do you prefer to defend? Do you prefer to attack? That's pretty much all it's about. So, yeah, that's what the drivers have to decide. So they're both powerful, and I'd say the overcut generally is more powerful. But depending on how far ahead you are, the people on the undercut, You know, there's so many different things that go into play. I'm not an engineer, I'm far from it. Jack West went for a bit of a lunge there and towards the chicane. That was a bit of a late lunge there, Jack. Indeed, as Dylan Moran gets to move on Boris, and Boris goes off the circuit. Now, what happened there, Josh? Did you see that move?
Yeah, I think Boris might have just got nudged there a little bit by Dylan, and just straight lined it out. But it's not looking good for Boris. He looks vulnerable now to Yost as well, as Yost is taking that inside line going down into turn 1. It looks like that medium compound tyre is starting to prove dividends compared to the soft compound. Also as well, the lap previously when Left had got overtook by Daniel, Left had a huge slide coming out the exit of the Casio Triangle. So the soft compounded tyres, we said around lap 8, it looks like they might be fading a little bit earlier than that, as we're seeing some fantastic battles going through the ESO. Topia still
Boris is
hanging
round!
outside, and Boris is gone.
Into
Has
the
he kept the
wall.
wheel? Has he kept the wheel?
He's fine. He's continuing on, and he just got. I think he went to that inside line and kept the pair on, and that obviously just looked. You know, he had no grip at all on the car, and it just spun him into the wall. Big shame for Boris now. Vroom down to 19th and 20th. They've got no real chance of making anything work in this race now. It is a big shame. I was hoping they could have a decent result with Boris being up in that P11, but I think for now it is all done and dusty. Further up, we can see Sergio Serino getting in on Paul, who's getting in on Lefty, who at the moment hasn't got the most upright pace at the moment. He's got Paul and Sergio, very quick drivers, just sitting behind him, and actually Lefty did a bit of a slide, meaning Paul can try and move to the outside line, try and get a move there on the SRT. And actually, no, Paul tucks back in for some slipstream and down in towards the chicane. They go through one by one, and they head down in towards that braking zone. And does Paul send a move? No, he sits back for now. But this is good because Dylan Warren is being brought right into this battle. Obviously, you know, with all those lefted Paul and Sergio fighting, so now we could see Dylan Warren try and stretch himself through. He's in that top 11, so he's close to the top 10. But he does want to, I think ideally, he wants to start in that finish in that top 5.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it realistically would have been where his goal was going into this session. Obviously, after the qualifying, it might have shifted back 1 or 2 places, maybe to a top 6, top 7. But we know what Dylan's capable of. We know as long as he finds himself in a window of opportunity, he'll take that opportunity with both hands and he'll capitalise on it. And that's exactly what he's doing at the minute. He's keeping within the DRS. He's running his own race. Not worried about Yost behind him on the mediums. Not worried about the soft tyre runners fighting too hard in front of him. He's just doing his own thing, and it's brilliant to watch. And I feel like a couple of these drives as well could also be on for a little bit of a charge as Jack West makes a very late move up the inside and Max going into the hairpin there. Last of the late breakers for certain.
Well, he wanted to move down in towards chicane earlier on, and that wasn't going to happen, so he wanted it done there. You can see Jack was keen to get through on Max, and he does go to move on Max. Does Max fight back? No, he can't, in towards the spoon curve. So now Jack West looking to get himself into that top 4, maybe a podium for the SRT team here tonight. That'd be very good for them, but actually, Max is going to try and fight back down towards 130R. He's got the battery, he's got the inside line. No, he just stops using the battery, so he doesn't want to make too much of a battle there. Actually, Jack's getting in on the back of Kemmel. Can he try and make a move in towards the chicane? No, he can't, and neither can Max. And also, you could see that was Daniel closing in very quickly on the back of Keen Gondorp in towards that Casio Triangle. That's Lefty round. Oh, and what it could have been for Lefty, he's now round. Must have got caught with someone, or just maybe locked the race in towards that corner, down to P17. And well, Max Fiesel losing that position to Tamas Gell in the lead. But what a shame for Lefty.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge shame. I mean, they were looking so great SRT as a team throughout the qualifying segment. It's unfortunate, but because this instance happened, it's opened up a little bit of a gap. Paul Eckelmeyer has fallen out of the DRS of Daniel Kelton. Could he potentially be vulnerable to Dylan Moran in the coming laps?
That's not good, is it, that?
That's what I'm thinking.
And you can see also Max yet again trying to put a bit of pressure onto the back of Jack West, but if you lose that 1 second, you're just going to drop more and more. So Dylan Warren will be keen to try and now get ahead of Paul, try and get that DRS to the top 7, then try and pull himself along. Obviously, with these softs going into the pits in probably the next 4 or 5 laps time, Dylan doesn't need to worry too much about making overtakes as long as stuff like Yost and Jan and that are staying behind. If that's the case, he can just keep pulling along with that DRS. But the thing is, you can see like so Jack and Max fighting. That is also what's going to pull Dylan Warren back into this battle. But Dylan's actually has lost the 1 second to Paul. Now that has changed in the next half a lap. At 1 minute, it's Paul losing the 1 second to the top 7 could be under pressure. Now Dylan losing that 1 second to Paul could be under pressure from Joost Noordijk.
Yeah, and Paul dumps an awful lot of battery trying to catch back up to the field there, but I don't think Dylan's trying to necessarily match him on the battery deployment. Dylan's more than happy just to keep running his own race. As I said, he believes in himself, and he feels like that's going to be enough, as I don't believe he was past the detection point there properly in order to get the DRS. We're going to keep an eye out on it, but we do have the drivers coming in for the stops, Tamas and Jack West,
Yes,
as Dylan
also
did pick up the DRS as well.
Yeah. And further up, we can see that is Max going to defend from Kian. Kian's trying to make a move. That's Daniel through on Kian as well, through in towards turns 1 and 2. They're still going side by side. The Williams just a little bit too further back in towards turn 3. So it is now a 3-4 for the Veloce Academy team. But Kian is still trying to apply pressure onto the back of Daniel as they come through. Tamash and Jack. So it's hard for Tamash, mediums for Jack West. So difference in strategy between the two. We'll see how that plays out for the two drivers as the race unfolds. But well, it seems Jack will be quicker at the start of the stint. Maybe this could work for Jack, I think.
Yeah, if Jack's able to get a track position and kind of just run his own race and not necessarily worry about trying to put up too much of a fight with the cars which are going to be coming at him with fresher tyres towards the end of a race, he'll be looking in a brilliant place to try and gain a couple of positions from his undercut. As we mentioned, it is very powerful, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the drivers who try and go for overcut, who want the freshest tyres at the end of a race, because those are the ones who are going to be making the moves where you don't expect them. They're going to be the ones that are applying the pressure in the dying stage of this race. So it'll be interesting to see how it's all going to whittle down. But again, Dylan Warren almost falling out of that DRS again.
Yep, and now you can see us gaining in very quickly on the back of the Ferrari. They head through in towards the 130 yard, then down towards a Casio triangle. Is a move being made from the Alfa Romeo? No, there's not. So they're heading towards that braking zone. Dylan's still going to keep that P7 because the top two, Max, Camille, Daniel into the pits. Max stay, well, the other Max Grossport today takes the lead of the race. He stays out along with King going up and Paul Ekomaya. Jos Nordijk makes a position ahead of Dylan Warren down in towards turn number 1, pops himself into 4th position ahead of the Ferrari, and well, it's not very often this season we've seen Dylan Warren get overtaken. Normally it's him overtaking other drivers, and it's medium tyres for Camille, Max, Daniel and Nelson. Tamash, did he play that wrong by going into a set of hards?
I don't know, I feel like we're only going to be able to find out in due time as Jack West also gets a move sorted on Tamas. I feel like Tamas is just going to be trying his best here to stay within the DRS, follow the train along, and then capitalise right in the dynamics of this race. That could be a great way to try and apply himself into this race and try and hold on to that position he was before the previous pit stops. But again, it can be so easily undone by a safety car. If a safety car comes out, yes, he'll have a fresh set of mediums to put on, but the other drivers might be looking to try and convert it onto soft tyres. Realistically, he could be very, very vulnerable if there's any sort of instance on the track.
Yep, so we'll just have to see what happens, and I think sometimes it's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? Just trying to see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Any strategy, any strategy will fail at some point in the race, won't it? So it's just about being lucky at the right time, and hopefully things not going wrong. We know for a lot of drivers, unluckiness is a big factor in racing. Sometimes the unluckiness as well kind of decides how good a driver is, which is unfortunate to see. But there's that many factors you can't, there's that much things that go on. Every driver could be excused, and every driver, if things didn't go wrong, could be the best driver in the world. As you can see, the top 3 pit all off the soft tyres, so no more soft tyres on track apart from Jeremy, who's down in 19th. So you can see Max, that's Keane and Paul all into the pits. We'll see where does Jack West come out compared to these. I think he will still be our net leader by the end of this run of pit stops. Obviously, we've got the top 7 still out on track. Jos Nordijk on the mediums, all the rest of that top 7 on the hard tyres. Jack West will come through. He gets past Keane, Max, and Paul put himself into that P8, which is technically the net leader of this race. Tamash Gal sitting comfortably behind in that P9, net P2, and Camel Satra in that net P3. So Jack West making the most of the strategy so far in this race. He could be in a very good position to try and get a podium.
Yeah, he's just got to look after his tyres realistically, and that's not an easy feat around Suzuka. The lateral loads getting pushed on those medium tyres will wear them out in no time whatsoever. But he does have Jost, who's currently in the race lead on the medium compound. He's still got a bit of a pace advantage over the hard tyre runners, so it'll be an interesting indicator into how far these mediums are going to be able to work the magic, let's say, and keep ahead of these hard tyres. Because realistically, if Jost ends up making it to lap 18, lap 19, Jack West is in a fantastic position with a fantastic indicator
into the
in
wall.
front of him.
Topis is into the wall. Luckily, he has not got any damage, but he's hit the wall and got overtaken by his teammates, and he's left. Oh, he's left the session. Now that isn't very ethical at all, is it?
No, unless there's been a incident on his PC side there.
Let's hope not. And then if that's the case, someone's starting to think what's going on here. But actually, the car is trying to fight with Jack West.
Oh,
the AI.
dear.
Look at that, still fighting towards a chicane.
It's trying, but it's gonna be a distraction to the rest of the drivers, which is what I'm more worried about.
And the issue is that car will stay out on track and keep going it trained, won't it?
Yes. Oh dear. But yeah, nevertheless, Dylan Warren caught up with a little bit of DRS issues down the pit straight, but Jost still very comfortably managing the pace at the front of the field with these hard tyre runners. Those mediums, they don't look worse for wear in the slightest. They look like they're in a pretty good condition.
They do indeed. I think the mediums will easily get to the end, and I think Tamash might have played this a little bit wrong personally, being down in that P8 and having those hards. All the others on the mediums, they will be quicker pretty much all the race, unless the mediums just drop off at one point and lose all pace. I don't think that's too likely, so we'll see what Tamash can do with those hards, but I don't think he'll be able to fight too much. You can already see Camel's right in his rear as they head down in towards the hairpin. Camel sends a move. Oh, and he's caught. Oh, and that's Tamash go round. He's luckily got the car going, but he got caught by Camel. He's now lost a position to Max. Daniel, and also we've got Sergio, his teammate, also gaining in. Big shame for Tamash go there now to be in that net P4. And well, I wouldn't say that was too clever from Camel, but then again, sometimes into the braking zone at the hairpin, it can, you can easily misjudge that braking zone. So with Sergio sitting right behind, maybe Sergio's going to try and hold it lots of Max, Keenan and Paul at this rate as they head down in towards 130, but still, the top six yet to make a pit stop.
Yeah, we got a person in chat. Avatar, lap 14, come in pit for medium, Dylan.
We'll see what he does.
That's prediction. That's a prediction and a half. If he's nailed that one, fair play. But it would be past the halfway point of this race. So it could potentially be a great idea as Topius comes back in the pits here, as he did reconnect to the session, so I believe it was a PC-sided issue.
Yeah, and that's Max Grossport there, ahead of Sergio Stabiano down towards turn 1, pretty easy move there from the Veloce Academy driver. But as we said, these mediums will be way quicker than these hards. So Tamash isn't going to be able to defend too much from the likes of Max Grossport, and who's behind Keen, going up as well. Paul Eckermine, Nelson Alves, all gaining in. So yeah, this might be the wrong strategy call for the race clutch team, unless maybe a safety car comes in and they can try and make something work from there, but I don't think that would be too likely in this race. And the fastest lap goes to Jeremy, who's on his 2-lap old medium tyres of 1 minute 28.513 on the board there. As they head down in towards the hairpin, and still Max gaining in on Tamash Gal. That gap between Tamash and Daniel's 5 tenths. The gap between Max and Tamash is 2 tenths of a second on the exit at the hairpin. And you can see actually, I think Tamash has got a decent corner straight line, because you can see it's getting about half a tenth on Max Gosmond there, just in that little bit of a straight down towards turn 14. So that could be what helps say Tamash maybe that lower downforced wing on his car. I head down towards 130R again, and we can see yet again at the front, nothing really being made. Camel Sasha though looking for a move on Jack West possibly, and that's also Max Wiesel gaining in. Max to the outside line, can he make a move on the Ferrari? They head into the brake zone, no, couldn't quite get it done there on the Polish driver of Camel Sasha as they head through out of the chicane. You can see Max is keen to get through, but Camel doing a great job at defence. But Max, you can see, bonus the batch on the exit of the final corner. To the inside he goes on the Ferrari. Also, we can see Camel look for a move. Jack West got to cover off the likes of Max and Camel, but Max sends it to the inside. They go 3-1 into turn 1 there. That was close to contact. I thought for 1 second Max was going to tap the back of Jack West, but that was millimetres between the two tyres of those two there. That could have ended in tears.
Absolutely fantastic racing there from the net free for the lead here. Kept it fair, kept it square, kept it on track. Beautiful stuff, all of them. Resending back to the position they were originally in. I feel like this battle's going to happen for maybe 1 or 2 extra laps here, and I'm all for it going through wide down into turn 1. I say bring it on.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. We also got Daniel Yeltsin there looking to make a move on Camille as they head down in towards the hairpin. No, but doesn't actually his teammate. I think he's letting his teammate through or defending. That's Keen Gondor with a bit of an incident. He's dropped down. He's had a bit of a spin down at the hairpin. The hairpin causing more troubles for more drivers on this grid. Tamash Gal now just behind the back of Max and Daniel. Not sure what's happened there, but Daniel, it seemed like he let off to let Max through or something, and that's brought Tamash right behind. Jan Halliday takes the lead of those ahead of Joost Noordijk on the hard tyres. They head down towards 130R again, and now we can see everyone fighting for position. Max now. Right, Max Wiesel right at the back of Jack West as they're heading towards 130R. He's not going to look for him there. He wants that DRS down towards turn 1. Max Grospointer as well on the back of Daniel as they're heading towards chicane now. I'm trying to think what's happening. Are they trying to let Max through? Because it seemed like Daniel let off to let him go in there. It's because he completely lifted off in towards the hairpin, and then I don't know what happened. They had Tamash right behind them, so I think that's going to be a move on. I'm not sure what happened either. That might have been a bit of an issue for someone possibly. As we can see, Max Wiesel takes the lead of the race ahead of Jack West in towards that first corner. Sabrina moving up. No, sorry, that's because Jan Hade into the pit, so he's onto a new set of medium tyres as they all fly through in towards the S's section. We can still see Max on the back of Daniel in the back of his teammate. Further back, Tamash Gal losing more and more time. That brings Paul Eckermeyer into the equation, trying to get himself ahead of the race clutch driver. And honestly, this strategy has gone terribly wrong for race clutch.
It's been a bit of a stinker, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Maybe something a bit creative. It just hasn't worked, has it, Josh?
No, I mean, realistically, did they have to gamble with Tamash? I don't think they did.
I think they would have been safe on
No.
the medium, on the soft medium, like everyone else did. But you never know. Something could happen crazy in the race, and the mediums could all end up dropping off and flying off the circuit, and then Tamash and Sergio come in with the 1-2. But that is very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to point out here as well, Max is not yielding any sort of delta to Daniel in front of him. I'm not sure if there's been a miscommunication on the team front there, but both of them are still following each other very, very closely. It's interesting. Not sure I would prefer to be that closer behind a teammate with my tyres overheating, but
we'll see.
there's a reason I'm not a racer.
Making a move out of the spoon curve on the back of Lefty. Great move there from the RHG driver, who unfortunately hasn't really made much work in this race. He's on brand new tyres, so we'll see if he can try and fight through the field. Dylan Warren also made a pit stop. He's in 12th position, looking for a top 10. He's on the back of Nelson Alves as they fly through in towards the next corner. And actually, Nelson Alves gone for something a little bit different. Soft tyres for the RHG driver, so we'll see what he can do. Where will he come out in this race? I think he'll come out behind the back of Lefty, so he'll come out in P17. So we've got a lot of work to do from that place on the grid. You can see just popping out of the pit box as Nelson Alves makes a move ahead of Keane Gondorp in towards turn number 1. Dylan Warren now gaining in. He's really on the back of Keane. He's got 9/10 to the back of the Williams driver. So we'll gain in quickly. He's got 3 lap better tyres. So also, it's going to be a bit of a when not an if for Dylan Warren getting through. And then obviously he's got to gain on the back of Nelson, Sergio, Paul, who are all on worse tyres. So Dylan Warren at this point is in the most favoured position, along with Jan Halliday and Nardi Perez. So we'll see what they can all do from their positions. Further up, we can see drives point on the back of his teammate yet again, fighting through. Camel had a bit of a slide, I think, coming out the hairpin. That allows a decent run for Daniel Kjellson to try and gain in on the back of the Ferrari driver down towards turn number 14. Can we see a move there? I don't think we will. No, not quite close enough. You can see gained, but just didn't have that much of an inside line, so he couldn't make a move. So he's just had to sit behind the back of Camel for now. But you can see further back, Joost Noordijk making a move there on lefty to pop himself into P16. And there's a 4-second gap between Sergio and Nelson, so we'll see how quick that gap comes down. But Dylan Warren, Josh, already on the back of Keane Gondorp.
Yeah, I mean, we know what Dylan's capable of. We know he's not one to wait around when he's got a better set of tyres on. And he'll be getting that move done before 130R. Just showing Keane the outside there, letting him know that position, that inside line is his. Also, I believe that's Jan trying to go for a very audacious move around the outside. The Casio triangle, and also Nardi Perez follows through as Keane there seemingly lifts off a throttle.
Yeah, and Will Lewis and Chanakin sheet. Dylan Warren takes that P9 away from Nelson Alves, and now he's got a 4-second gap to Sergio Sabrina. We'll see how quick he can make that gap work, and then we've got Nelson Alves going to try and hold up all these behind. As Nardi Perez had a bit of an instant, he's spun off the circuit, but now this is great for TS. They can hold Will Lewis up, they can hold Chanakin sheet up through this middle part of the first sector. Now this could be really good for Jan Halliday, couldn't it? And Dylan Warren. They don't help Dylan, but it will help him.
Yeah, exactly. Also, speaking of, Sergio Sabrino out of the DRS as well. So when they do catch up to him, he'll feel like a bit of a sitting duck on the hard compound, on the older tyres, without the aid of DRS. It looks like Dylan and Jan have been able to pull an absolute blinder strategy-wise.
And look at that gap between Max and not Max, Jan and Nelson. That's what, well, when it shows us, you can see Will Lewis making a move. Now 1.6 seconds, perfect there from TS. So that's someone having a bit of incident. Is that Nardi Perez? Yes, it is. 2 incidents in 1 lap there for Nardi Perez. So all the way down to P17. Could have been on for a decent result here in this race, but now it's crunch time for Will Lewis. He's got to get that gap back down towards Jan Halliday. Then further back, we can see Chanakichi looking for a move there on Nelson Alves. And also closing in is Joost Noordijk. We'll see if we can get any moves from those guys as they fly through in towards 130 yards. Side by side between Chanakichi and Nelson Alves. And now we can see Chan to the inside. Breaks later. Move is completed there in towards the Casio triangle. Now Joost Noordijk should have a run down towards turn 1 easily on the back of the TES. He goes to the inside line. Can't defend much there. Jack West takes the lead of the race. Further up, we can see Camel Thatcher getting in as well, along with Daniel Kjellson. This fight for the lead, Josh, I think it's going to be between the top 4.
Yeah. I just wanted to notice there, Jan got past Dylan. Going down into turn 1 there, had a little DRS swap. My only concern is if they keep swapping DRS, every other lap, they're just going to end up inevitably losing time. I mean, look at the amount of time he's gained through Sector 1 alone, almost an entire second on Sergio in front of him. But they're going to have to work together. They're going to have to cooperate effectively to catch back up to the rest of these medium tyre runners who are going to be struggling when push comes to shove at the end of a race. There's only 8 more laps to go. So they're going to have to figure out some sort of plan between each other now on track in order to try and capitalise on these 8 laps to catch back up, to really try and put pressure on. Because at the minute, it looks like between Jack, Max and Camille, those three look a bit untouchable at the minute. The Veloce drivers are very close behind, but it just doesn't seem like they've got the the grip to be able to try and make a move solidified.
No, I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think Jan and Dylan could be in a position to try and take the top 5 in this race because they're gaining in quickly. They're gaining in at a rate of knots on the back of Sergio Sabrina, who's 2.3 seconds back from Paul Eckelmeyer. So maybe Sergio needs to also adopt that defensive strategy and towards that first set to keep Jan and Dylan behind for a little bit longer to defend Tamash's position because, yes, the hulls will be stronger at the end, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them to at least get any advantage to make moves. Joost Noordijk past Will Lewis, had to pop himself into P11, King Gondorp into P14 ahead of Nelson Alves, down at turn number 1 as well. And further up, we can see Max Gross pointing yet again on the back of his teammate, but they're not going to risk a move from Daniel and Max because if they have to lift off, it can then lose them time to like Sir Camel, Max and Jack West. We can see further up though, Max Goswood has got a decent run on the back of Camel Staturer in towards turn 6 and 7 at the taking the curves. But that's the issue, because of the track being so thin as well, no one can afford to try and make a bit of a risky move because it'll lose them so much time.
Yeah, exactly. As we see Jan in the DRS comfortably, he's going to be looking to try and get this move done as soon as possible. He gives the Alpine a little nudge going through the hairpin, just reminding the Alpine that he's still there and that he's got the traction to be able to try and pull off a move. Surely not into Spoon.
We'll see what he does. He goes to the inside. I think he's going to have the move done before they get to the corner. To the inside goes Jan Halliday. Great move there on the back of Sergio Sabrino, who's down to 9th position. Dylan Warren. They're going to be looking to be in the hunting zone of Sergio Sabrino. They exit out to Spoon down towards 130R. Jan Halliday's on a really great strategy. This could be possibly a winnable strategy here for the TES driver. Dylan Warren going to be gaining in on the back of Sergio. Would look to get a move down towards chicane, hopefully for him. As you can see, gaining in, gain to the inside. He goes back, says at the last second, goes for a bit of a dummy there on the back of the Alpine. They come through, into the triangle, ups over the curbs, down towards turn 1. Now, Dylan's going to have to use some of his battery to get past Sergio. And I think he's already got that move done and does it, hasn't he? To the inside goes, as we can see, Max does get himself past Daniel Kjelsen down towards turn 1 of the 2. VA is having a bit of a swapperoo now, down at turn number 1. We can see Dylan ahead now of Sergio Sabrina. So Sergio down to 10th is going to be eaten up by the field behind because those hards are going to be very worn, I think, at this point.
Yes.
Joost Noordijk will get past him, I think, by the end of next lap. As they all fly through, Jan Halliday's got an 8-second gap, 2-second gap to Paul Eckelmeyer, who's then in that DRS train for the lead. So these guys, Jan and Dylan, are closing in quickly. Joost Noordijk will be right with them very shortly once he gets himself dispatched of Sergio Sabrino. But now I'm very excited to see how this can end because we've got arguably 9 drivers in the fight for the lead of this race. 9,
yeah,
that's half the grid.
I'm looking at the VA drivers as well. Since they've done that swap, Max seems to have so much more grip on his medium tyres, despite only being 1 lap younger than his teammates. He's all over the back of Camille. He was looking, he was darting going into the hairpin. He was just being a nuisance in the mirrors of the Ferrari car, just winding him up a little, making him second guess, trying to force him into a mistake. He's going to have to wake up a little bit earlier in the morning to catch Camille's napping. But those tyres look like they're alive, and it looks like they're probably in one of the best conditions I've seen these mediums throughout the grid, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, he's got 9 lap old mediums. The ones ahead have got 10 and 11 lap old mediums, so we will have that more grip because of that tyre wear. So we'll see, can he make a move down towards turn 1, possibly ahead of the Ferrari, into the final corner, down towards turn 1 they go. Hasn't quite got the run down towards that first corner. You can see Max Wiesel takes the lead. Jack West will try and fight back down towards turn 1, but he's not too keen on it as they head through. Now, Jan Halliday within that 1-second gap of Paul Eckelmeyer. Now, this is, you know, it's prime time for Jan, Max, and Joost as well. Jan, Dylan, and Joost now to try and fight on the back of these top 7, try and get them some moves because they're all going to be squabbling. You can see Max is keen to get through and Camel at every opportunity. They keep doing that. That's going to bring Jan in more and more. It's going to really move even so quicker. They've got 5 laps to go. We've got 5 laps of probably great action between the whole of the top 10 in this field.
Yeah, realistically, I still can't tell which way it's going to go. Let us know your predictions in the chat, though, of who you think is going to be able to walk away on the top step of the podium, because so far, I don't know if it's the same for you, Richie, but it's so up in the air. For one point in time, I was thinking Jos might have been on, you know, an absolute worldie by putting on those soft tyres, but he's going to have to make some moves very quick if he wants to keep up the chance of being in that, you know, top 5 or potentially even a podium.
Indeed, on board with Jan Halliday. He's right on the back of Paul Eckelmeyer. The gap's 3.5 tenths of a second as they exit out of Spoon Curve down towards 130R. But the issue is Jan hasn't got all the battery in the world. He's got 40%, which is about, what, 2/5 of a tank to use. So it isn't the most, but he could, you know, I think at this point he might have to save a little bit, mustn't he, to try and get a bit more of an advantage at the end. Because he's ahead, I think some of them have got quite a lot of battery in their car.
Yeah, it's all about just deploying it at the right times, deploying it at the corner exits, trying to carry as much speed through the apex as possible, and just having that little burst where it's needed. As we could see, Alpine trying to get around the outside there. Is Tamash? Surely not.
He went for a move there, but couldn't quite get it done. He had to back off at the outside line at turn 1.
Oh, it's a tough one to be able to overtake around
And
the
the question
circuit.
is Daniel trying to hold them up?
Sure. I don't know. I feel like it's too early to call. I mean, Daniel's doing a great job defensive driving, but I don't think he's necessarily trying to create a window between himself and Max. I feel like he wants to be in that, DRS range, being able to keep the fight up, but deliberately holding up the field behind for his teammate so his teammate can have a better run. It would probably be the smartest decision, but realistically, if that was going to be the call, surely it would have happened a little while ago, and surely he'll be backing up a little bit more than he already is.
Yeah, Max went for a bit of a move there on Camel in towards turn 14. I just about saw that in the corner of my eye as they fought through, and Max backed off at the last second. You can see he's going for dummy moves. He's trying to get through on Camel, get a bit of pressure to the Ferrari. It's working, but just not enough to get himself an overtake. You can see Jan Hade now getting in on Paul Lecomar to the inside line using his battery. Can he get the moving towards the chicane at the inside line? They go through. And will it be a move for Jan Halliday? Breaks to the inside. Paul defends it a bit late. They go into the corner, and Paul does keep himself ahead for now as they exit the corner down towards turn 1. Can Jan get a run out the final corner? Can he try to make that move in towards that first corner? He's got that battery to use. Paul's also using his battery. It's going to be the inside line for Jan Hade. If he can make that move work, I don't think he can. Further back, we can see Tamash Gal looking for a move around the outside of Daniel yet again towards turn 1. Bit of a tap between the two as they head through towards turns 2 and 3. Now Tamash has got the outside lines. They fight through, and still no move can be made by the race clutch driver, but he's still trying to fight as hard as he can. Further back, we can see Jan Hade being pulled in, but the issue is Jan can't get through because Paul's also trying to get through on Tamash Gal, so everyone's trying to fight for position and no one can find a way through.
No, it's just, as you mentioned before, the track is so narrow, there's very little opportunity to be able to make a move, go for a bold, audacious pass, and get it to stick on the track. And we're seeing as well, with the more fighting between Tamash, Paul, Daniel as well, Jan, Dylan, and Jost are just having to wait their time as Paul has the inside line. He's just going to show Jan the outside through that hairpin. Doesn't need to worry about too much about his exit because it's such a short straight. And then, realistically, you might be looking at the Casio Triangle for the next opportunity for Jan to get a move done. And if they keep taking it like this each lap, I realistically can't see a way Jan or Dylan will be able to really get their move on.
No, I think they're kind of stuck on there. You've got Jost as well, looking to get a move ahead of Dylan Warren, so he could also come into question in this race. And also, it's getting more overcast and more overcast. Imagine if we had a bit of rain at the end of the race. That would cause something, wouldn't it, Josh?
Absolutely. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we saw a bit of rain cause drama here at E-Series. But yeah, throughout the grid, throughout this top 4 as well, still so close, but not one of the drivers wants to be leading the race. They want to be second place, third place on the penultimate lap with a bit of battery to dump so they can really try and get a position going. As we can see here, Jan falling slightly back off of Paul, but Paul still with the DRS, he's in a much more comfortable position than some of the other drivers around him are. While Tamash here seems to have got those hard tyres working back in the window, and it does seem like the mediums in front of him are starting to struggle as well. So perhaps he was waiting for this opportunity. He's got 2 laps here with potentially better tyres. The wears has been less on the hards, as you would expect. The mediums grain slightly more, grain slightly quicker. They're not as good as regulating the temperature when they get old. So is Tamash going to try his absolute everything he's got, everything in the tank, to try and get a position here on Daniel?
Yeah, he's got to do something, hasn't he? He can't just sit behind. He doesn't want to. He's been going for the move so much. He's not going to back off now. Surely, with the 2 laps to go, that's when you're going to be the most feisty.
Yeah, it's not only that as well. It's you got the championship, you got the bragging rights as well. Having 2 VA drivers in front of him isn't going to feel great. So he's going to want to do everything in his power to try and capture that moment again and be able to try to get himself back up towards a podium. Obviously, he started second place, and then this strategy has not worked dividends for him. Has not paid any results. While the contrary could be said for the likes of Jack West, who started in 6th place. His setup and strategy has worked wonders for him, as now he's going to find himself leading the race on the very much fabled lap 26.
Indeed, and now look at that gap. Daniel has lost that 1 second to his teammates, so now this is good for those in that top 4 because Tamas, Paul, Jan have got to get ahead of each other first before they can try and fight for that top 4. So that strategy that could have worked for Jan Halliday, he's now stuck behind. That's the issue. He's not the fact he hasn't got the pace, he can't find a way through. Paul's doing a great job defending there from the TES. Obviously, TF10 run for their best race this season. They've only had, what, 3 top 10 finishes so far. They're looking to make it double top 10 finishes here in Suzuka. So TF10, they're going to be really big in that fight to SRT, who are looking to take victory. So it's going to be either TF10 or SRT at this rate who take victory, which is not something I would have imagined going into this round tonight. That Jack West could be looking to fight for victory after his qualifying. So they head through in towards Spoon Curve yet again for the penultimate time. No moves being made through there, but Max, Josh, he's right on the back of Camel. He needs to find that move. He gets closer, but never close enough.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, staring at the back of a rear wing. It'll drive you stir crazy as we see Max Wiesel pulling to the inside. He's going to get the overtake sorted before 130R, while Max Grosspointer is still waiting that P4. He makes a move down to the inside, but the Aston Martin of Jack West just boxes him in, and Camille turns across him slightly there, runs him out of road. Daniel now is going to be looking to try and get the overtake done around the outside, heading down into turn 1. We could potentially be on for a 3-wide moment. If Max decides to pull to the inside, he stoops back in, he waits. We've got Camille defending the inside. It's going to switch to the inside there for Daniel, but it's just not quite got enough grip there as Daniel now falls back down to P5. Max gets the overtake sorted, but Tamas Gal in P6, he's trying to hold it around the outside. Paul Eckelmeyer now cast to the outside. All these drivers, it's Constantino effect. One of them gets pushed out slightly wide. It forces the other one behind slightly wide. But we're just going to keep going all through the field. It's going to keep checking itself.
Yeah, and Dylan Warren making a move around the outside. Has a bit of contact with Jan Halliday, who's round up the diagonal curves. Went side by side up the inside, and unfortunately loses that P10. So now Dylan Warren back into that top 9. Further ahead, you can see Max Wiesel going to try and bring everything he can to the back of Jack West. It's the final lap, and Max has got nearly full battery, so he's going to have to unleash it all the way down in towards 130. He's getting quickly on the back of Jack West. Lifts off the battery as they head through and towards Spoon Curve. Now it's one last chance for Grandpa Max Wiesel to try and take the lead. They fight down towards 130R. All the battery being used by both of them. It's 0.2 of a second as they come through towards 130R. Max, you can see, gaining. Can he get the move around the outside at the Casio triangle? He will try his best to get it done. They go side by side. Jack defensively inside. Jack goes deep. That could give Max the exit. They make contact. Jack keeps the move. They head down in towards the final corner. Jack West takes victory here at Suzuka, and then down towards the final corner. Camel Central losing position. Daniel takes third. Yost in 4th. I didn't know what happened there, and actually, that was Max with a 20-second penalty. So I think with all that, I'm not sure if Ferrari win the championship. Because when it was like it was 2 laps ago, they did win it. But with Daniel being in 3rd and Max being in 16th, Camille down to 6th, and I honestly don't know. If anyone has any information on whether Ferrari have got it.
Any quick maths? Yes,
I worked at the maths 2 laps ago because I thought it was not going to change too much like this. But I think Ferrari that 6th and 7th, I'll have a quick check, but I think that might give them it, mightn't it? 18 and 16, what's that give us? 14, 34.
34.
I think that is enough. I think Ferrari have taken the championship. They needed 32 points going into this round. As it stands, 34. But Dylan has been involved in a couple of incidents this race. He was involved at one at the start. He was involved with that one with Jan. So maybe it's not over, but I think, everyone, Ferrari have got the championship. And it's probably going to be provisional because there will be different results happening at the race. There will be Max obviously getting that penalty removed. That might jump him back up. But as it stands, Ferrari have got the championship coming out of Suzuka. And we can see the final classification for the amazing finish there between Jack and Max Wiesel. What an ending between those two. Jack went deep. Max went for a switchback. Was going to have it done, but hit the back of the Aston Martin. And we can see, as we look at the final classification, Jack West for SRT take victory here at Suzuka. Max Wiesel finished in 2nd, and Daniel Kjelsen in 3rd again for the Veloci Academy team. And Joost Noordijk with a qualifying ban, 19th. That did not faze him at all. He finishes in the top 4, ahead of Tamas Gell in the top 5. Camel Thatcher and Dylan Warren, 6th and 7th for the Ferrari team. Their worst result this season. They're ahead of Paul Eckermeyer, Will Lewis, and Chana Kinchi in the top 10. Now, Chana Kinchi at one point I thought was at the back of the field. He's in the top 10. Well done. Then we have Sergio Sabino 11th, King Gondel 12th, Jan Halliday suffering a bit of a last lap incident, drops down to 13th, left it in the top 14. Max Gross pointed with that penalty, which should be removed, finishes in 15th position. Then Topias, Boris, Nardi, Jeremy, and Nelson is the full field. But
yes,
the
what a
ending,
race.
what was that? And I can see there the
Oh.
SRT team very happy in the chat. Get streamlined, says Leroy Brown and Francis McGinn in the chat. So very happy with that result indeed. And well,
Also,
hmm?
who did I predict to get a win?
I don't know.
It was Jack West.
You said him to get pole, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes. Well, I'm going to say
Yes.
that anyway. I
Well,
said the win would be. Who did I say the win would be now? Was it Lefted?
Yes.
It was Lefted or Tamish, I can't remember. Well, Lefted didn't finish in the lead. He finished 14th,
No,
unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but with everything which was going on there as well, Camille got pushed right to the edge of the track, and I believe that might be why that penalty came in for an illegal overtake. Overtaking a car off track under a yellow flag.
I was going to see if there's any confirmation regarding the championship with Ferrari, but I think they might have just about done it here tonight. I was going to wait to see if Connor can give out to me. But we're going to pop ourselves over to the interview screen to see if we can get a chat from any of our drivers in the waiting room. If they do wish to do so, I'll send a quick message into them in there now to see if anyone wants to pop in for a quick interview. No, I don't want to send it in the commentators chat. That wouldn't reach to any of the drivers. So here we are. Right, let's get Jack West, second place, Max, and then third was Daniel. So that's what we're doing an interview, and we'll see if anyone says yes. And actually, there is a bit of a bit of controversy in the chat between a couple of drivers there. I'll had a little bit of a read. I'll have a bit more of an in-depth read later on. And yeah, we're just going to see if we can get any of our top three, in Jack, Max, or Daniel, for an interview here at the end of this race, which I think was a brilliant race. And Josh, yet again, missed a banger. He missed one in Monaco. He's missed it here tonight. You know, how shameful is it for Josh?
I know. Yeah, I feel sorry for Josh because every time I decide to hop in and join us here at E Series, he seems to miss an absolute cracker of a race. But it's one of those. What can I say? I'm not wearing any merch, so I didn't give any additional benefits to the teams.
Well, that would be an additional curse. I wore the Ferrari shirt at one race. I can't remember. I think it was F2. Wear the Ferrari shirt, and unfortunately, right. So the boss has gave us some news. I don't think they will win it, as Max will be reinstated to fourth, and Camille is 100% getting a penalty. I probably should have said that, but that's what I've been told. So, well, Ferrari, sit back down for a moment because you've got to wait till next week.
And it ends up running it to the final as well.
Yes, the final race, Ferrari versus Veloce. I think yet again Ferrari will probably win it because they're still going to be like 40 points ahead.
Yes.
But yeah. So we'll see what the final race gets to bring us. We'll see if we can get an interview from our drivers quickly. I can see Daniel's in the waiting room. If you could drag him up, Josh, that would be very helpful.
There we go.
So, Daniel, hello. Welcome in.
Hey.
So, the final lap, I didn't know where you was, bro. I definitely didn't think he was in P3. Give us a bit of an explanation. What happened on that final lap of the race?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you had the battle ahead of me, which I gained positions on in the end. And just for the last lap, so we were trying to work together with Max as teammates to get them. So I was first ahead, trying to at least make the guys use battery, and then Max tried it, and I went to just save battery and had everything at the end. I wasn't going to do anything too crazy though, and I guess that was what gave me the podium, because just played it very patient and got the double switch back on the last corner. So yeah, happy with the podium and decent points with the team, as well. So the penalty for Max, of course, 20 seconds will get removed. So yeah, good points.
Yes, indeed. I think that 20 seconds should probably be removed, definitely. I'm not sure what happened, but I think he must have went off track somewhere. So, yes, I'm seeing people saying that Ferrari have won it. I'm seeing people saying they haven't, so I'm not quite sure at this moment in time. But if you do go into the final round, do you think you'll still give it all to try and beat Ferrari at Jeddah?
Okay, you could say anything is possible, and but I think we're just going to maximize our own result, and realistically we are in a big fight for second with the race clutch and Williams. Hopefully, I mean, it looks like we've outscored them well, and with the penalty being removed. So that's of course just what we're aiming for P2. I mean, if there is a theoretical chance for the championship, we basically need a double for our DNF and 1-2, and everything. It's very unlikely, but we're of course giving it all, and we're gonna try and get a 1-2, but we're gonna have to need something quite extraordinary to happen, and maybe they even have won the championship right now. I don't know. We'll just maximize the last race and give it all in our belt for at least P2.
Yeah, indeed. So first of all, well done on your P3. Josh, anything from you for Daniel before we let him go?
Yeah. I mean, never say never, mate. I mean, anything can realistically happen. That's one of the beauties of sim racing. It's one of the beauties here at PSGL. So try and keep your head up, maximize your result, and yeah, best of luck heading into that final round, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
So that was Daniel Yeltsin finished third in that race. We'll have a chat with Jack West. He's also in the waiting room, so we'll bring him up if you can, Josh, if you please.
There we go.
So Jack West, welcome. It's been a long time, but welcome back to the commentary box. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, and P1, did you expect to come home with a victory after the qualifying, or?
No, not really. I didn't have a lot of pace. But I mean, I know in the past I've been quite decent in the races, but I mean, yeah, I'm quite surprised to have won it from where I was at the start. But yeah.
When you said that you didn't have to do much pace, but if you didn't have pace, what do you think helped you get that victory near the end?
Well, I mean, I think it was the decision making. I mean, first of all, I think the moves at the start were really, they were very beneficial. The moves on Kian and Max in the first stint were obviously put me in a very good position. But I mean, I think the most important thing, I think what did win me the race was the Max overtaking me for the final corner, because I think if he had stayed behind me going into the final chicane, going into that last lap, then he would have overtaken me and higher wings and fresher tyres. I think he would have just pulled away. But honestly, I was quite surprised. But I didn't really see it, but I think he might have had pressure from Camille, and that's why he had to overtake me. But honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the race.
Yeah, behind Max, it was carnage. There was about 4 people fighting for third. So once you, Max, pulled away, there was nothing else really going to be bothering you. But still, well done on the victory. Josh, anything from you quickly for Jack?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic work, mate. It was brilliant to watch you race. It was brilliant to see you going for the undercut and making it pay off and pay dividends when we were anticipating the overcut to be really, really effective. So it was brilliant to catch us off guard a little bit. So congratulations on the win, mate.
Thank you. Get streamlined.
Well, actually, one quick thing. It's gone. I was going to ask you if we'll see him next week, but we'll find out. There we are. I got streamlined in the VC. So we'll see if we'll see Jack West next week. We didn't find out now, but if we do, we'll see him at Jeddah. If not, we won't. So I think that is our interviews conducted, as there is no Max V, so I think he's a little bit too old to figure out how Discord works, unfortunately. Obviously, being in his mid-30s, being quite old is Max V indeed. So yes, maybe we'll speak to him next week if he can figure out how to use Discord. Well, I'm only having a go because he told me on Twitter that I'll have a skill issue. So I thought, you know what, you can have it back, Max. So yeah, so that is our interview session completed, obviously with Daniel and Jack. So very nice always to have people in the interview room. So we come to the end of round 7. It's been a great race. It was probably been one of the most interesting on-track battles at the end of the race we've seen out this whole season, apart from Monaco, which is something that is quite rare to say. And I think, obviously, going into the final round at Jeddah, yet again, chaos couldn't it, Josh, indeed?
It could be, especially with so much to gain for some other teams as well. They're going to be going absolutely ham. They're going to be trying everything possible to get positions, get the extra points. I feel like it's going to be more carnage. And
it will.
After those last couple of laps, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I somehow feel like Jeddah is the perfect environment. It's the sort of perfect circuit to try and build a little bit of that, mischief, carnage, and a little bit of a cheekiness in some of the overtakes as well. So I, for one, am really looking forward to being able to either commentate on it or watch it. I might be watching with you guys. I might be in the chat. I might be teasing a couple of you guys with some predictions as well. Well,
from how it's gone so far this season, with you being in Monaco and here and it's being carnage, maybe we don't need you at Jeddah. That's not a risk we need at all going into the final race of the season, which gives Ferrari the championship. Connor's told me he don't think they'll win it. Jonas told me different. Daniel doesn't know. I don't know. So we'll leave it as a fact of no one knows. Everyone's right and wrong. So we'll find out later. If they've won it, there'll be something on Twitter. There will be congratulations. We'll congratulate them next week. If not, then we go to the final race where for Veloce, they need a double Ferrari DNF. And for Veloce, they need a 1-2. So unlikely, of course. But as Daniel said earlier on, anything is possible. So we'll see what they can bring. And well, that is all from us here tonight at EC. We'll be back next Wednesday. Come back tomorrow for PCF2 through to F6. Then come back on Monday for the PS console. So I don't know if you'll see us on Wednesday. So have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you again next week. Good night.